Good evening, guys. Good evening, Alan. Good evening, Mark. Or good
Hi,
afternoon for
everybody.
you, Mark.
I think he's on mute. We're
Yeah,
chopping chicken. He'll be cooking something.
yeah, probably. We wait a couple of more minutes and see. 13 in the house already. Let's see. CR is in the house.
Hey, CR.
So we wait a couple of more minutes and let people drop in. Yeah. Is trading 31.50 is probably on Mike's side or your side. I don't know. Ohio Valley Prepping, good to see you again.
Can you hear me?
Biohazard.
Biohazard UN. That's a fitting name for the subject tonight.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
And Lauren is on probably Mike's side or your side, Alan. I have no idea. Hey, Liselot, good to see you. Yeah, people begin to pop in, so that's good. But anyway, today's topic is the invisible air cloud surviving a local chemical spill.
Yeah, it'll be fun to try to think about.
And it's quite important too, actually. Nearby me, I believe it's maybe 2.5 kilometers from me, we have a chemical plant. And we have also a lot of trucks who transport a lot of chemicals too. So through the city, basically, because the E4 goes straight through the center of the city. So that will not be a fun thing if an accident happened. So that's the topic for today.
I think probably most major countries have had some sort of chemical incident or toxic incident or something like that. The UK's had quite a few, actually. I think the last one was sort of back in, well, there was one relatively recently, but the one that I remember the most was the big oil depot explosion that it was Bunsfield, the Bunsfield oil depot. That was like 2004, 2005, something like that. Massive explosion, the huge amount of damage and injuries and things like that. So, of course, Chernobyl, and the nuclear power plant's still a problem today. In the US, they've had a couple of trains randomly derail with chemical spills.
Hey, Mike.
That's interesting.
Hello.
What's up, Mike?
I'm all good. Sorry, I had to prep some food, get the kid to bed, and prep some things because I know this always ends up as show and tell. So I've surrounded myself. I'm stuck in. I'm wedged in with preps at the moment. So we'll get to them. But if my camera keeps coming off, it's because I'm eating and nobody wants to see that. Or if they do, they've got to pay extra for the only mic channel. So,
yeah, I changed my avatar to a raccoon with a gas mask.
Nice. I mean, it looks like the gas mask is part of the raccoon.
It might be. You never know.
Let's see here. Hey, Jill. Good to see you again.
Looking forward to the end of the month, Alan.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. So, a Project Z, as I think it's known as just now.
I've just told the missus she has to film me in the garden burying her, and she was really confused.
Is that going to be a view of the camera getting dirt shoveled on top of it?
I can't. No, I don't have cameras that I can do these things with, and I'm not burying my phone just for an effect. But it's just going to be
phone.
me.
Hey, do a video stream with me, and just hold your phone and lay here for a second. There we go.
You've never mentioned anything about an excavator. I need to make sure you don't get out, love.
Excavator? Who said anything about getting an excavator?
Okay, Mike. Today's topic: the invisible air cloud, surviving a local chemical spill.
Okay, so first point is I've been in it. The scare of it. So a long time ago, I used to live in the northeast near a chemical plant, and there was a fire next to it at the Stiller factory. And this fire was at a factory with loads of gas canisters exploding right next door to a chemical plant. So we got an entire town warning, regional warning. We had to get inside. We had to seal up all our doors and windows with tape and stuff like this and follow all the instructions. And that went on for a good few hours. It was quite a scary time, but that was before I was prepping properly. So it was interesting at the time.
I always thought about that. It doesn't make sense to get yourself inside and completely seal yourself in, depending on how big the room is. You're going to run out of air, or air will have to get in there somehow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the thinking was. This was just the radio broadcast telling us to do that. And to be honest, I blindly, as sheeple do, I blindly followed the instructions. So I
ran down, paid triple for a roll of plastic and tape, and went home. And
no, I didn't even get the tape. I didn't cover it. There were still vented bricks. There would have still been air circulation. I literally just taped up the gaps and the letterbox and stuff.
So, Mike, what did you learn anything from that? And what would you do? Would you do anything different if it would happen again?
Yeah, I mean, I've become more a prepper since then. I mean, before then, I was still somebody who had a month's worth of food, but never anything like that. So now I have, if it's not so much if it's chemical, it depends what it is. But for fallout, I have plastic sheeting, and on there is markings and writing somewhere as well. There you go. Just says room 1, door front. They are pre-cut to the places they need to go in the house. So you grab the box.
So they fit perfect. They will fit perfectly.
Yep, no need to cut it up, nothing like that. It's already done. So in the panic of the moment, you're not going to miscut it. So they're pre-done. I have leftover masks from COVID kind of thing, which is just very simple, you know.
Yeah, that's a simple one, but it works perfectly.
I've got this. So this has the 40mm NATO fitting on the front, so you can have an activated carbon filter on that. But it also has the option, let's say it's something airborne, but it's not like radiological or anything like that. You've got the side filters to go on the side instead, just to, you know, siphon out particulate particles and stuff like that. So yeah, and that's just the starters. I've got full NBC suits and stuff, so I can be the guy, the scary guy from the government in the yellow suit. I thought it was the good choice of color.
Hey Bob, good to see you.
My lessons are exactly what Mark was saying. In that situation, if I'd have done a good job sealing the house up, I'd probably done myself more harm than good. So stay away from contamination. Bug out is option number 1. Option number 2 is protect myself more so than the house.
Yeah, preps, good to see you.
Especially with an old house, you could tape it up. You'd have to literally tape yourself entirely covered in plastic to stop all the air coming through an old-fashioned house over here.
Yeah. Plus, doing that, eventually you're going to run into trouble after a couple of days just being sealed into a house. You know, you're going to have water vapor problems. You're going to have air quality problems. You're not going to be able to cook properly.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have, and also, like you're saying, Mike, as well, you always run the risk of, see if you're just slightly too late and you end up contaminated, but you don't know it. You're sealing contaminant into your own house. If you haven't got a clean room, you know, like a mud room to sort of decontaminate yourself before you seal yourself into a house.
That's chemical gloves, right?
Yeah, it also comes in handy if you want to inseminate a cow, but you know. and we can get elbow deep in somebody. So, sorry, something.
I was going to say somebody. Damn. Who are you dating today? Jeez.
Bad timing, Bob.
Oh, Lord.
I was just talking about going elbow deep into somebody. I mean, something.
Start as you mean to go
everyone. On. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah. Where we have problems in my area is Washington State is wooded, tens of thousands of acres of trees, and so is Canada. Forest fires is what we deal with as far as air contaminants are. So thinking ahead, this is how I store my gas masks. One for me, one for the missus, and when there's a forest fire in the area, the air is just absolutely choking thick with smoke. But I selected the ones that have got a full face shield on it, so that we can, if we have to get out, we can still see to drive. I got them both of these, one fitted for my wife and one fitted for me, and this is good enough to get us out of the forest fire smoke right there. But if you have a gas mask, I learned this in. Oh, really?
Same one he's got.
Same thing. Yep. What I learned in chemical warfare training in the U.S. Air Force is put your gas mask in a sealed container, because your filters sit there and continually filter air, even when it's not used.
Yeah.
And you want to keep it dust free. Yeah. This is how I store mine. There you go. Yep. That's how they trained us. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like that. But that's our solution for, the thing that bothers us the most is the smoke. And my wife has got sensitive sinuses, and it sends her into a migraine. And, then I got to deal with that, so.
Hey, Bob, you mentioned something there that's really important that I think a lot of people don't know about when it comes to fitting respirators or gas masks, if you like, is making sure you've got the correct fit. Because they're not all the same size. And there are tons of people who will just go online, put in, I need a gas mask or a respirator, and they'll buy it. And then it's actually too big, and then it breaks the seal. So it won't work properly. You have to get the correct size. And
I would say to keep if you're depending on your facial hair conditions and that, keep a disposable triple edge razor and maybe some kind of a like a skin lubricant in your kit with it. So that way you can always help it seal your face.
Yeah.
With some kind of like a gel or something. And then if you have too much hair in one spot, or you happen to grow a beard that week and something happens, you can at least shave it off really fast. It'll hurt, but who cares? Get it off so you can fit your mask back on.
I can show you guys real quick how to fit a mask immediately. Yeah. We went through this training constantly in the Air Force, because they know that if they can, they're going to hit an Air Force base with chemical weapons to wipe out the people and keep the airplanes intact.
Mike.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Can you still hear me in this?
Yeah.
So,
Luke, I am your father.
I got the same as Bob, because I've had clear ones before that don't have that inner lining, and all they do is fog up within seconds. This is pretty good.
Yep.
It does a bit, but
yeah, when you
like
put the mask
Vader.
on, put your hand over the inlet valve and suck on it. If it sticks to your face, you don't need to adjust it anymore.
Yeah, same with like a diving mask. When you use the mask that goes over your nose, you suck in with your nose. If it pulls tight, you're good. If it doesn't,
you're good.
You better get the razor out and shave that hair off.
Well, what we usually do, our training was adjust it on your face, test it, adjust it again, and if you're good to go, leave it alone. Just don't mess with it. But yeah, very important to be able to do that. Strap it down, tighten it up, test, tighten it up, test again until it sticks to your face, and you're good to go.
There you go. Hey, Mike, if you pass out there, none of us know your address to call 911 or the emergency people. So.
call the emergency people, go in there and raid his house while he's unconscious. Man.
Well, that's after I find him and try to not revive him.
There's a Scottish wife upstairs. If you want to risk raiding my house, that's on your life.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
If the body's not alive anymore, she may have second thoughts. You never know.
Yeah, so I was saying, if you couldn't hear me properly, I've had different ones in the past. This is only, to be fair, I can't afford a mirror safety one. I'd love to be able to. I can't afford the latest version of the military one. I'd love to be able to. This was like 20, 30 pounds, something like that on Amazon. And they even do a deal where you get a couple. And because of that inner lining that hugs around my nose and mouth, I'm the guy who, as soon as I go to airsoft with glasses on, they're fogged up within 3 seconds. Yeah. So I always have that issue. This eliminates that, and it's really good, to be fair. It's the best one I found. I've only got one for me, though. Them lot can choke.
Like I said, if you pass out from something, she's not going to care. Thanks, honey.
There is prepping logic behind me having one and nobody else in the house. I mean, if money wasn't a luxury, if money wasn't an issue, I would get everyone the right ones and stuff like that. Kids ones, they'll constantly grow out of them and size them and stuff like that. But they won't be leaving the house in any sort of situation. The reason I've got this is because I, the one that has to leave, get supplies, do security, etc. So,
yeah, that's a logical.
It's not that I don't care about them. just want to throw that out there.
No, you need, if the whole family needs to go out, of course you need a gas mask for them too. But if you're the only one, you only need one.
There's always the temptation as well to buy something that's really cheap, and then the day that you really rely on it, you discover that it's actually just something from Temu or something, and doesn't work properly. But I mean,
they give it a lifetime guarantee. It's your lifetime. Oh, lifetime's over. Sorry, guarantee's over too.
Make sure. I mean, you can get really old military ones. Just make sure they've got that same 40 mil fitting for these like activated carbon filters, because that's the key point of this, right? That's everything else is for sure. This is the life-saving bit.
So I remember you when you mentioned the military ones. See the old British Army one. There's a lot of them available. The S10s.
Yeah,
and they were good. They work
good to see, man.
They work perfectly fine. I don't own a respirator, not a proper one at the moment. But I remember there's a, I can't remember his name. It might be weapons and stuff. I think his YouTube channel's called. But he was talking about different respirators and things like that. And the modern British Army one isn't favoured as well as the old S10 among a lot of people.
I love the S10. There's the two restrictions on the S10 is the view, because you the circular eyes, right? It's still quite a decent amount. It's like a decent thing, but you still do have a blind spot here where you'd have peripheral vision. The other thing is, if you're going to get one, just know where it's from, when it was made, and the history, because you store the S10s in a warehouse for a long period of time. That rubber can crack and really be the damaging effect. So it's I love the S10s. I swear by them. That's what I had when I was in. That's what I did my whole CS gas chamber thing, take it off, name, number, all that, and a random maths question. That's what I had then. But like I say, it's you've got to really check them out if you're buying one secondhand.
Yeah. You would have been issued something like this as well. Hey Mike, the Survive the Fight manual. So I've actually got the one from the 80s and I've got the one from the 90s. I don't have a more modern one, but they're basically the same information. But these are good manuals, these military style manuals for NBC training. Go through literally step by step of, it goes through it like a task. So task 1, how to fit the respirator, how to don the clothing, block, bat and rub, all that kind of stuff. And, it's, if you aren't somebody
you weren't supposed to take that home, when you left. Just throwing that out there.
I'll take whatever the hell I want.
The best ones when we first got there, we were waiting in. So it was everyone was arriving at the base on the same day, but some people were traveling from London, Glasgow, some people were traveling from around the corner, so it was kind of an all-day thing. And we found a load of old leaflets in the drawer, and it was like, In the event of a nuclear explosion, find a ditch or an obstacle to hide behind. Lay down. Wait for the second wave to pass. Once the second wave has passed, you can stand up.
Yeah.
And then stick your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It always reminds me of you guys ever see the South Park episode where they get taught to duck and cover, and there's like lava coming, and the lava just pours over. It's like duck and cover, and they just get wiped out.
Brilliant.
When I was in the army, we had a gas mask test.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and we went to a little shed. And they throw in a tear gas in it.
Yep.
And they just issued our gas masks. And that were I believe it was 2 different sizes on it. Okay, the one I had, it leaked, definitely. So I get the old gas inside the gas mask. It was horrible. So I had to change it to the next size. Okay, it fit well. Oh man, I coughed tear gas and my throat was itching. It was horrible. And the smell from the tear gas, it stuck for days in your throat.
Yep.
If you took a sniff on it, oh man.
So I'm curious as well.
They tell you as well, I just got to say, like with tear gas, I always see people in like crowds getting tear gassed and they're pouring water in their eyes and stuff. In the military, they tell you to absolutely not do that. Don't pour water in your face. Face into the wind and just let the wind sort of.
That's all you can do.
That's all you can do. Just take the pain and let it pass. The second you start pouring liquid in your face, you make it worse.
You spread it. That's like when you eat something hot and spicy, like a super hot pepper. People are like, "Oh, drink milk, drink this, drink that." No, don't. Just let it do its thing. It'll go away. You're not going to, water makes it worse. It just spreads it all over the inside of your mouth and down into your stomach anyway. So
I'm curious with other people's militaries. So Swede, when you did the CS gas stuff, did you have to take the mask off in there with it?
No.
Oh, we did.
Already had it on.
we did in the U.S. Yeah.
I don't know if it's different when Alan did it or you guys did it, but so we filed into a room basically. There was only about 6 of us because I think it was per little section, and you've got it on, all fitted, and then you go through a door, and that's where it's like in it. You have to take it off, name and number.
Yep.
And then depending on how much the bombardier loved or hated you, it was like, what's 3 + 9? What color was the door you've just come out of? And then you'd exit, but we had to exit through a window. It was like a hatch with sandbags up, and you had to get up and get out the window. So that was what we did.
Did you never get made take the filter off, pass it round your back twice, and then put it back on?
No. Oh, there you go. I didn't do that. No.
Also, I mean, you've got the old NATO water bottles with the cap that you can take the straw off the S10 and put it.
Yes,
in,
we use them.
Down. And there's a technique to doing that, and it never works properly. You end up with water all over your face.
Yeah, M17A1. Yeah, they had us file in when I was in the Air Force. They had us file in a small room, just like what Mike was talking about, and we're all good to go. You know, we're breathing, everything's good. Then the instructor says, "All right, take off your mask and recite your name, rank, and serial number." Okay, we got through that, and then we're choking. Dude, we're done. That CS, it hits you, man. Yep. If you've never been exposed to it, it will F you up. And then he goes, "All right, y'all can leave." And dumbass by the door just stood there like a mop head. I had to reach over another guy and I go, "Boom, wake up, dummy, open the door." We all went outside. I had snot running down my nose. Strands like that. We all had to wear our uniform because we're on duty, and that I had to wash my uniform 3 or 4 times to get that awful smell out of it. You know, yeah. Dummy. Here's the door. Here's the dummy. I'm dreaming of a playground or what? Get out of the way!
It's such a strange feeling as well. Being exposed to a gas like CS gas, it's such a unique and strange feeling to be exposed to it for the first time. I've been exposed to it a couple of times, and I remember the first time you hold your breath as long as possible.
Yeah.
And then you know you're going to have to take that breath in, and it's the worst, most horriblest feeling of. It's like I imagine it's similar to being waterboarded, but with the added irritation of the horrible taste and the crackling feeling in your throat and stuff. You genuinely you think, I'll die in here if I'm in here longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a case of you start to inhale, it gets bad, so then you gasp for air, which makes it
worse,
doubly worse instantly.
At the same time, your eyes swell shut because, we've all been through it. Oh, it's horrible, man.
Anybody wants to try it out, go to your local gym, turn the sauna up to the full heat setting, take in 2 bottles of hot sauce, neck them, and then pour it in your eyes at the same time. There you go. You can have your experience here.
Yeah, right. Yep.
That's probably the best way I can describe it, Alan, for no one that's experienced it. Because if you're in a sauna and it's really hot and you take a deep breath, you almost feel it throughout your lungs and chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of like feeling. Yeah.
I imagine. I mean, it's probably. It sounds like all NATO countries, I think, use the same NBC training. They have almost the exact standard.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Even, he didn't have to take his off. He was just chilling. Shocking.
I suppose it's important as well for like NATO countries to have a standardized way of doing it, because then, if they're ever in sort of a group condition, everything's very similar, and that's why the old 40mm NATO fitting is important as well. Not just because it's the most popular and readily available filter, but because it means you've got a dead guy beside you and yours isn't working properly. In theory, you can take his, and then it'll fit. You don't need to take his whole mask.
Why is he dead? Why is he dead? Was the filter bad?
No, because he was still trying to get his mask on.
He had the wrong fitting mask. He bought it from Temu.
His last words were, "What did you say? Mustard? What?"
Yeah, I had experience with people buying gas masks and all this. One guy that I used to work with, he was in the Navy. I don't think they gave them very much chemical warfare training, but in the Air Force we got tons of it, a lot. And what I learned is, if you get hit with a chemical agent, a harassing agent, or all of it, any of it, you really don't want to live through it. I don't, because the only way you're going to be able to get out of that situation and survive it is be able to find a river and jump in it and totally wash your entire body with that stuff. Because when you take off your mop suit and your skin is exposed, you touch the mop suit, now you're exposed, and it's horrible. It's horrible, man. Same with the nuclear stuff that they trained us on. I don't want to live through it. I don't. Because now all that contaminates are everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on everything you touch, everything you see. It's everywhere. And honestly, we were actually told the truth that our mop suits and masks were, I was ground crew, will last long enough for us to get a pilot in the cockpit, and the pilots wore a space suit. It wasn't the stuff that we wore. Pilot get in the cockpit and he can hook up to the oxygen system, close the canopy, launch the airplane, and then all of us on the ground crew died.
Yeah.
That's all the longer, and that's
truly taking one for the team.
Yeah, but we knew it, and we knew that because we had to get the airplanes out of there and the pilots out of there, and the rest of us, we all knew, okay, just give it a few minutes, we're going to die.
Yeah,
can you fit me in there?
Surprising
please?
how many jobs have that in the military. Have that same sort of thing. I was mentioning this the other day because up near Allen there's a tourist attraction called Scotland's Secret Bunker, and it's a old nuclear bunker and stuff like that, like Central Command kind of thing. And we was talking to the owners in there because it was like we went on a day where there was no tourists, which was brilliant. And he was talking about it, and literally, if there was a nuclear strike, like after the point of a nuclear strike, like not it is going to be like it's happened, it's happening now, it's going off, there's radiation everywhere.
Yeah.
The generators to keep the power going downstairs were switched on outside. So somebody's job was to run out. And they had to position it in such a position where he could just about get it down, and then he probably wouldn't get back in, and they wouldn't let him back in anyway.
Yeah.
So there was a sacrificial lamb who had to turn on the filters and the electric for everyone.
Well, in
the U.S. Air Force, I'll be quick. In the U.S. Air Force, the sacrificial lamb was the lowest ranking person. We all knew it.
Private.
You're the lowest rank, you're dead. And
so that means a private.
Yep,
right,
basically.
Right, or a airman basic, or an airman one stripe or no stripes. Yeah.
You guys, have you guys seen the Netflix documentary about Chernobyl? You know
yes.
It's really good. It's really they did embellish some of the stuff that went on, from what I understand. But there's a scene in it where they're talking about having a decontamination crew that has to go in and sort out some of the problems. And they're speaking to the guy in the office, and he's literally he's like don't bullshit me, that it's a suicide mission. And they're like, well yeah, basically. And they're trying to give them like all that protective clothing and stuff, and they're like, what's the point? Because it was so hot that the protective clothing just ruined them.
Melted.
So they did it naked, and they
really.
Just
at least you can live that extra minute and a half wearing some clothing anyway, and then instead of going naked, they just die before you get there. So
yeah. I think, like I say, I think they embellished some of the story a little bit, but there was decontamination crews in Chernobyl that were effectively suicide missions, and they knew it, but they did it anyway. So incredible.
Alan, I watched a show like that about Fukushima, and they all. I think the people who had wives, husbands, families were excused, more or less, and the rest of them stayed there to try to shut everything down.
Yes,
and end it.
Finally, benefits me having 600 children. Get in.
you're head of the line. You're head of the line, Mike.
You may want to go in naked, Mike. You never know.
I'll go. I'll go.
Well, Mike, that's the thing. If we were caught in a nuclear disaster, and you're saying, "Well, I've got lots of kids," I'd be like, "But look, I'm still an eligible bachelor. I have to go out and spread my wings more. You've done your bit. You've passed on your seat.
No.
It's time for you to go, and then me to go running."
Listen. Get the last remaining women, throw them in a hot tub, jump me in there. They'll all come out pregnant. I'll repopulate this earth on my own. It's not a problem.
Oh, God help us. Bunch of little Mikes running around.
I think that, because we're talking about gas masks, and I always call them respirators, by the way. I don't actually know the gas mask and the respirator, but I was always told it was called a respirator. But the key thing, see both of these little books that I showed, that they issue you when you're in the military. Most of this book is about decontaminating your person. It's not about your respirator. It's about getting contaminant off you. You've got they give you Fuller's Earth and stuff, and you have to block the stuff off. And there's a very particular way and an order to which you have to put the clothing on, because you yourself could be contaminated. So, I mean, if I've got contamination on this T-shirt and I put an NBC suit on, all I've did is put the contamination inside my suit, and therefore I'm completely useless. And if you take a look at how they constructed bunkers, they have mud rooms, decontamination rooms, where they go in there and they strip off completely and they shower down, and they put everything into a sealed bucket, and then they move on to the next stage and seal themselves up. And if we were going to do something from a civilian point of view, like Mike's talking about, where you seal up your doors and your windows, you should probably have a plan for, okay, this happens, but before I go into the living room and seal myself in, I'm going to go into my hallway or my bathroom, and this is my mudroom, this is my contamination room, and I'm going to take all my clothes off and I'm going to dump them here, and then I'm going to seal that room and I'm never going to go back in there. That's it.
Right.
I'm sealing myself away from that.
So I've had the thought process of this, and I originally started with an old NBC suit, you'll remember, Alan. And I had that, and I thought, that's fine, that's all I need, plus a mask, I'll be no problem. I've graduated to, I have got multiple of these. These are TY Chem. They are full-on chemical protection suits, but they're disposable. All right.
Yeah.
So I've got about 10 of these. Okay, so 10 times I can go out, come in, and my decontamination process is destroying this in a separate section kind of thing, bagging it all up. Everything that's like and then it's buckets of like fluid and bleach for gloves and mask. So it's not a perfect system, but I found having a disposable option like that makes it much more. It gives you much more longevity rather than just a suit that you're going to have to somehow wash. Because, like Alan says,
Yeah,
the first time you go out, if you've just got one NBC suit and you come in, you ain't getting that clean anytime soon. You'd have to not touch it again. So if a security risk happens or if something else happens and you have to go out, then you're either contaminating yourself or you're knackered. So this kind of gives me a couple extra strings to the bow. Don't go out there at all if it's contaminated. Try and never go out, but just in case.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with NBC suits, like different militaries have different kinds of NBC suits. And they're usually very different from civilian ones. The British Army ones, or the ones I can't speak for nowadays. I don't really know what they use nowadays. But back in the sort of early 2000s, the British Army NBC suit was a nylon suit, but it was impregnated with charcoal. So it was charcoal impregnated. It was like a type of felt. So it was sealed in a vacuum bag. So you had to rip the thing open and then put it on with rubber boots and all this kind of stuff. But it wasn't really designed to be something that you could wear all of the time like a spacesuit, because it wasn't even waterproof. I mean, it didn't really stop you from getting wet after a while. It was really just there to immediately put on to protect you from some sort of chemical fallout or gas. And then you were supposed to be able to fight your way through a position to an area where you could then decontaminate. It wasn't designed. Yeah.
I mean, this looks loose, but inside this is a vacuum sealed unit.
Yeah.
An NBC unit.
But I mean, if you take a look at civilian ones, so in the workplace I work now, I work within an area that's a huge oil refinery, and
1990.
The kind of suits that they have are rubberized. They're the Soviet style type ones almost.
Yeah.
The Soviet army had proper rubber, and they would use big rubber Wellington boots, whereas a lot of NATO militaries, like the British Army, they would have an overboot. It was like a rubber overboot that you put over your boots, and they were horrible because they never went on properly, and it was a real pain in the arse. But you're much better off having a proper civilian heavy duty rubber boot, and then you put a chemical suit over that, and you seal it. So you would have duct tape that you would have to seal yourself in as well, because you can't just have it loose. And you literally have to put it around your wrists, and then you would put like inner gloves on, these white cotton inner gloves, and then you put rubber gloves over that, and then you would tape the rubber gloves to the suit. So you're walking around like a complete,
You need, if this is something that's part of your prepping, you need a buddy system. Okay.
Yes.
I did a video a while ago on an NBC suit, and you can see the rubber boots on there, because you can get your actual boot in them, the rubber ones. But I like, if it permits, then put something thin, really thin shoes on, because it gets in easier. But I had the missus taping it and like saying like, this is what you'd have to do, and this is what you need to check for, and this is, any tears, etc., and stuff like that. So if it's genuinely part of your plan, don't try and do it all yourself, because Alan might do the best job he can on his wrists, but you can't see everything.
And you've got to remember, if donning an NBC suit is genuinely part of your plan, you've got to remember it's only for two purposes. It's to get you away from the contamination. So it's not to sustain. You're not supposed to stay there if believing that you're protected, because it's very, very limited. In the military, it was really just to fight through a position and get away from the exposure.
Yeah.
In a civilian setting, it's just a thing that you put on to hopefully protect yourself so you can get away. Distance is key. Distance from the contamination is really what you want. You don't want to hunker down. But if you do find yourself literally locking yourself inside your living room and sealing up your windows, that suit isn't what you're going to be wearing in your living room. That suit is what you're going to be wearing, because you have to venture out quickly to do something and then perhaps come back. Or you've trapped yourself inside your home, and okay, I've been here 3 days, I have to get the hell out of here. Then you would don the suit. Then you would venture out. Kind of like what Mike's saying, if you're a family and you only have one suit, then you have to make the decision at what point in the, are you going to go out and try and seek help or some sort of provisions or whatever it is you're doing. But to my mind, all of these suits, whether they be civilian or military, they're one-time use. The respirator, yeah, you can use that multiple times. And we're talking about like nuclear contamination here.
Yeah. So in that suit, are you wearing a respirator, or are you just sealed in? And how long are you going to last with no air? Not very long.
Yeah, well, would see the military, the NBC suits is basically just the trousers are just, you pull them on over yourself, and they have straps that go around your body, and then the jacket's a pullover with a hood, and then the idea being that the respirator is the first thing you put on, then you put the trousers on, then you put the jacket on, and then the hood goes round where the seal is, and then you pull it tight, and then that becomes like a sealed unit. So the whole suit then becomes sealed in that sense. But eventually, once you go to decontaminate yourself, because you're in a safer area, you would do everything in reverse. So you would do it in such a way that you weren't also contaminating yourself, because the outside of the suit would then be contaminated. It's a very fiddly thing to do, and it does take a lot of practice. And manuals like this are probably something you should get your hands on, rather than don't just buy the stuff and watch a couple of YouTube videos and think you know how to do it, because honestly, it is tricky.
Try it, test it.
It's hard to do, and then add in stress factors to all of this as well.
Yeah, seal yourself up and then jump in the swimming pool and see how wet you get.
Yeah, that's why we had so much repetitive practice over and over and
reps. Yeah, that's what makes perfection. Regards to prepping for the ages question, obviously it depends what we're talking about. If it's a chemical spill, if it's a chemical leak and stuff like that, stay inside, lock yourself in, listen to the radio. They should tell you. If we're talking nuclear and it's like there's no information coming in, an hour after a detonation, if it's a ground burst, that's the peak of the fallout. Okay, that's the worst time it's going to be. 7 hours after, it drops by 10%. All right, 49 hours after, so over 2 days, then it drops to 1% of the initial value at hour 1. Right, 2 weeks, it's 0.1% of the initial value at day 1. So if you could stay in safe, filtered air, and not contaminate yourself for the first 2 weeks, chances are you can get out without having to have a full NBC suit. You can just get out, put gloves on, don't touch anything horrendous, and get in your car and bugger off. So just as a guide, just as a rough guide.
Hey, Guardian. I just noticed you were there.
Yeah. He stealthily snuck in. I didn't realize he was there until I looked out. I was like, oh, crap, he's there in the dark.
Hey, what's
Guardian,
up, Chip?
Do you want to add something, Guardian, to this topic, the invisible air cloud surviving a local chemical spill?
South Africa is never going to get nuked, so he is just going to sit there dressed exactly as he is, watching the rest of us turn into mutants.
So I've got a very large backyard for everybody on panel, so you're all invited for when the time does come. But thanks for having me up on panel, Shadow. I appreciate it, and good to see the panel members and chat as well. What's up, Chef Tech and Alan? Always lovely to see you guys, and I haven't seen Bob for a while, so it's really good to see you as well. I'll just add quickly on my end. Yeah, Bob, there you are. So it's definitely good to see you, man. And I think that, so I looked into this for quite a while when it came down to if kind of like how we would make a fallout shelter, because unfortunately with the capacity that the world has right now, if it is engaged with a mad, mutually assured destruction, right, where like the world, a lot of the superpowers have the capability to essentially return fire if they are hit with any sort of large-scale weaponry as well. Bob will actually tell you more about mutually assured destruction as well. I'm sure that, Bob, you're quite familiar with it.
I am.
Yeah, so it's something that if you've been like looking into this for quite a while, you'll definitely see that there is the propensity for there to be large-scale radiation and fallout. So even down here in South Africa, realistically, like we would still be able to, if there was a large enough catastrophe as well, we'd absolutely be able to see that, and it would have impacts over here. Now, that being said, what I've done for a while is I've looked into what it would really entail in making sure that you can have a cargo shipping specific, like a shipping block from a cargo container and bury that to prevent the radiation, but that's a terrible idea. The more that I looked into it, the more I found out how I'd have to reinforce that container as well, and they're not designed for it. They are actually quite like fragile, and because they're fragile, and it's only really like the structure itself, some of the parts of the structure that are really strong. So what you'd be able to do is you could essentially build one if you had thick enough concrete. But there's a lot that goes into that with making sure that you have, because you guys are speaking about suits and that as well, which are obviously, you know, paramount to what you're going to be doing if it's going out and scavenging or trying to acquire resources. The thing is that for the most part, if you are capable of getting like a large enough cement structure, and you're capable of making sure that you do have ventilation and a long-term air capacity in there as well, even at its most extended duration, you're going to run into several problems. And you can look into how you'd be able to basically make like a bunker in this type of scenario, because what we're speaking about is a complete SHTF. I mean, the amounts of countless lives, millions and billions, in fact, lost across the world, if we had to have some sort of, you know, large-scale event like this, you really need to understand that the only way to really escape this would be a vast amount of resources and money poured into those bunkers that they basically have, that the super rich have access to right now. And they've been building them recently. You can say what you want about that, but they've been putting a lot of money into that. Mark, you wanted to add something?
Just on the burying the container front. So anyone, I'm sure everyone's familiar with Atlas bunkers, Atlas survival bunkers and stuff like that. I think initially when he started out, that was the kind of the model, but you can get steel RSJs, like steel beams, and then weld that to create a cage around the shipping container. So the shipping container provides a base. The RSJ is fixed as a cage around all the way around.
Yeah, shipping containers only have strength at the corners.
Yeah.
You can use vertical at the corners. That's it. So they stack them 20 high, and each one weighs 10 tons. They're fine. But you push pressure on the side, even just burying the ground, the hydraulic pressure from, you know, water getting in the dirt and that, it'll just collapse in on you. I've seen pictures of it. It's ugly.
Yeah, so you can create this. You can create this steel cage using RSJs, steel beams, stuff like that, which you can get for around £20 a meter. So it adds to the cost quite a lot, but it's, you know, what's worth for your life. And then you can also pour concrete around the exterior after that once it's reinforced. So I wouldn't dismiss a shipping container as a good starting base. But if you're expecting any sort of pressure, if you're burying it deep enough, if there's enough earth going on top of it, you definitely have to reinforce it.
It's like you can use root cellars and septic tanks as well, because they're actually designed to be buried in soil. You know, they're
cylindrical or whatever, like a submarine. Yeah.
I mean, but I kind of echo what Marcus said. I actually work in shipping, so I'm around shipping containers all of the time, and I'll tell you right now, shipping containers are fragile. They're designed in such a way that they can withstand sea travel for a period of time. They have a special paint on them and stuff that allows that to happen. But see, the second you open the doors in a shipping container, you can tell that they're actually not particularly structurally sound. And also, if you were to bury a shipping container and then drive something over the top of it, you will buckle the shipping container. I walk along the top of shipping containers all the time, and they're bouncy. You know, they're that fragile. I could dent a shipping container just by jumping on it. You know, so I mean, you could use them, and you know, they're useful for other things. But shipping containers are also, in the summertime, they're like a baking oven. It's like a car. You know.
I know. My tractor lives in a shipping container, and I got to go out there next weekend. And if it's 80 degrees outside Fahrenheit. Inside, I can't even go in. I got to open the door and let it vent out for like 15 minutes before I can even go in, because it just gets so hot in there.
Yeah. There's one other thing I just want to quickly jump on as well, because we've kind of got ourselves slightly sidetracked into talking about nuclear contamination, like nuclear war and things like that. Whereas the most likely scenario, and kind of the topic of this conversation, is chemical. So agricultural, a train disaster, a chemical spill from industry or something like that. See, in a lot of those cases, the worst possible place you can be is a basement or underground or something like that, because you're talking about toxic gases, and you want to actually be high. You don't want to be low. We're not talking about an explosion you're trying to avoid here. You're trying to avoid, chlorine gas or something.
And yeah, depends on how heavy the gas is. Most gases are heavier, just like propane.
Yeah, most will.
You leak propane, it puddles. And same with gasoline fumes. They puddles in a low area, and that's why the houses blow up if you keep your gas inside and it gets up high enough and the igniter turns on for your water heater. You just lost your house into orbit.
Because I think it changes. The thing is, we're all civilians here, so we're talking about adapting civilian life to go with this, and that would change my thinking a little bit if I was preparing for something specific. Now, if I lived in a house that had a basement, I don't, but let's say I did. And then a 2-story house. If I was preparing myself for the possibility of nuclear attack, as in a bomb going off, all of my preps would be in the basement. That's where I would focus all of my energy. But if I lived beside a petrochemical plant, which I actually do, I would prepare a room upstairs, because it's not so much an explosion that's likely to be the problem. It's the release of toxic gases that's likely to be the problem. And being in a well where gases sink is the worst possible place you can be. It doesn't matter how well you seal it. Trust me, after a couple of days, the gas is going to find its way in there. You want to be high.
Well,
if the gases find a way in, you will be high.
Yeah, right. There's lots of stories out there in certain parts of the world where, the carbon monoxide gas was leaching out of the ground really bad in a low area, and you can't see it, you can't smell it, and people would literally walk down this little knoll and die. And they didn't know it was there. They just gone because there's no oxygen and you can't see it. You can't smell it. There was no wind, nothing. And the CO gas, even just carbon monoxide, sits low by itself.
Yeah, the industry I work in shipping, we do safety drills and seminars and stuff all of the time. And one of the things that they point out to us in the video seminars is, see, when you go into the hull of a ship, you can't see or smell the gases. You have to put a probe in there to detect the gases before a man can go in. And there's actual real life cases of this happen. I think this happened in Antwerp. I could be wrong where it is, but I think it happened in the port of Antwerp, where it was a shipping container full of grain, just normal grain, but it was depleted of oxygen, and it was had a gas in there. And a man went down and he just passed out and died. Another man went down to see what was wrong with him, passed out and died. Another man went down to see what was going on, passed out and died. And that happened, because of gases in a welled area that they didn't properly vent and things like that. And it happens a lot in farming as well, I believe, so it's something to really, pay attention to.
I know when I worked at the dealership, we had a paint shop. We had a body shop on one side of the dealership for a long time. And in the paint booth was a water filter, it was like a giant swimming pool underneath the paint booth with vent holes in it. And the fan was on the outside of the building. It pulled the air through the positive pressure inside there. The paint, it was mostly for the paint and some of the fumes. It would pull down through the shower bath of water, and that water would collect the contaminants, and then it would blow just the air to the outside. And there was a vent coming in, so they got fresh air all the time. But it was really cool to look at, because you could kind of make one, I guess, if you had some kind of really good high velocity fan. But I don't know what kind of contaminants just water is going to remove if you bubble the air or your breathing atmosphere through the water. What would come out of it, and would it be breathable on the other side?
Sorry, I just threw this up on the screen so people had an idea of the steel beams running around the outside of the container, which this is probably depicts it in the best way.
That's not a container, but you can tell the top of it is just solid.
I was trying to find a container picture with it on, but I couldn't find the old Atlas one. And you know what? This is interesting. When I was Google image searching, trying to find something that showed the similar sort of thing, what I saw were containers that had been exhumed, that were people's bunkers, where the sides have completely buckled in.
They just collapse in.
Yeah, they're very fragile. I don't think people think they're a good idea, but shipping containers are designed for shipping. And by the way, they only do that a few times. If you come to where I live, near Falkirk in Scotland. We have, that's the largest shipping container terminal in Scotland is here, and we have a graveyard of containers. It's actually just thousands and thousands of shipping containers.
And they're cheap. If you want one, they'll get it. You'll take that one.
You can go and get one from there, no problem. But
that's why in the United States we have such an abundance of them, and a lot of them are just one trip. I mean, that's
why that's the foundation of my off-grid home is going to be a container home because the price of them.
Cheaper. It's cheaper for them to make a new container over on the other side of the world than it is to ship back an empty container.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, you can keep it. We don't want it back. It's just cheaper. It would just cost way too much in shipping costs to get it back empty, to fill it up and do it again. They're like, the heck with it. We'll just make new ones. And that's why there's constantly, and of course they ask premium money for the one trip containers over here, but they're stuck with them. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This company uses shipping containers, by the way. So that is the kind of the steel caging I was on about.
Yeah. It's like half-inch plate.
But that's not a shipping container in that picture.
It is. It is. It's the base underneath it is a shipping container. They steel panel it with sheets and then they put that frame on.
Oh, they reinforce it completely. Yeah.
Even the underside of a shipping container, you flip one over, you can see the flooring. It's wood. There's just metal beams across it. Yeah.
It's bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's eco-friendly, so they're all changing to bamboo. That's the new thing at the moment. I see them all the time.
Yeah, mine's got that. It's like 1.25 inch marine grade type, some special plywood that if I needed to replace it, just one section of it, which is like 2.5 meters by a meter, is like $300 just for that piece. Because that's, if you want to make it back the way it was, you could take all that stuff out and put regular pressure treated wood in there and put a floor in there if you needed to.
Yeah, even when people convert shipping containers into like houses, you can turn shipping containers into like shelters. You have to do a lot of work to weatherproof it properly on the outside. You can't just leave the shipping container exposed because they're actually not very weatherproof. I mean, they're weatherproof to the point where you can use them for 2 or 3 years or something, shipping stuff back and forth, and it can cope with the sea and all that kind of stuff. But a house lasts for decades, not a couple of years. And they do eventually go rusty and you can't get the doors open and all sorts of stuff.
I looked at this because there's a lot of work involved, because I looked at the container place. There's one on the motorway as you head up in towards Glasgow on the right. I can't remember what it's called, but they've got a huge shipping container place and they're relatively cheap prices. For the work it would be involved in an old one, getting rid of rust, respraying, stuff like that, weather treating it, it's worth it to get practically a new one that's already treated, and then you can just, put an extra
clad it. You can, if you clad them, they're really good because, funnily enough, because I live quite close to a place where they are also available for sale, and I could get one cheap if I wanted to. I actually consider putting one in my garden and turn it into a gym, but you would have to clad the outside of it. And that is very expensive to do that. And I thought, to hell with that. Because you can buy, big sheds or garages.
Not if you own the trees on the land that you can split down to do the cladding. I've done my research for this.
I'll tell you what, guys, if you want to find out about living in a shipping container, talk to some of the Australians. They've taken thousands of those, and they're land grant to people, and the government will give them a shipping container to live in. I was just on a panel with a guy who's been living out there in the outback, colonizing that land for the last 20-something years. And what he did with his is he covered the entire outside of it with cob. It's a mud straw mixture. And if you don't put something around it to insulate it from the Australian heat, you're going to die.
That's the same way.
Basically.
It's a good way to start with something as a shipping container, but you've got to add to it or else it's just going to be unlivable. Yeah.
The thing is, the climate makes a difference as well. If you put a shipping container in the desert, the outback, and then you cover it with mud, that's going to last a hell of a lot longer than if I put a shipping container in my garden in Scotland.
Yeah, he's been living out there for over 20 years, clearing the land. He grows all of his own food, but you start with a shipping container, cover it with cob and a tin roof to deflect the rain and all that. It's a process. But the fantasy that the people in the United States and other countries, I'll just get one and presto, I've got a permanent. No, you got nothing permanent. It's just a box, so.
Yeah.
All right. I got a break in the weather outside right now, guys. I'm going to go for now. It was God bless to all of you. And I will stay with this. What I learned in the Air Force, chemical biological training, If I get hit with a chemical agent or nuclear, I want to die. I don't want to live through that. So but that's my own way.
On that cheery note, see you later, Bob.
The peace out, guys. Take care.
Have a good weekend, Bob.
Later, Bob.
As I mentioned in the beginning, is that we have chemical plants who manufacture different chemicals. So if there would be an accident, it would not be fun.
No.
It actually happened a couple of years ago. It was an accident. It was a chemical cloud, basically. But it didn't reach my area, but it was not fun anyway. So...
I mean, I live just a few miles away from Grangemouth Refinery is where I live quite close to, which up until very recently was Scotland's only petrochemical refinery. But they also make plastics and other chemicals and things like that as well. So I live in the Falkirk area, and that's very close to this huge petrochemical sort of industrial site. And every Wednesday, they sound an alarm that you can hear from all over the place, which is just a test, and that's supposed to tell the population around about. They can hear that alarm, something's going on, and they have to get to they have to like turn on the radio and find out information or go to a designated area. And there's actually these zones that are supposed to be out of the blast zone that you're supposed to go to as a type of evacuation should you hear these particular kinds of alarms. But I mean, I had a quick look to see how many accidents there's actually been at the Grangemouth Refinery over the years, and there's been loads, dozens. Some of them have killed people, including explosions, chemical leaks, gas leaks, flares, all sorts of stuff. And I work in an area that's very close to the site. I don't work in the petrochemical area. I work near the docks and round about the marine area and things like that, the shipping area, but it's all part of the same sort of industrial area. And I tell you what, the health and safety there is, through the roof. They go to town with it. You can't go into certain places with mobile phones or things like that, and they take it all very seriously. And there's areas where you can get decontaminated should you be exposed to chemicals and stuff. But that doesn't stop these accidents taking place anyway, and they happen multiple times. And I would imagine that a country like the UK has some very strict sort of health and safety regulations. So, I mean, I would say for the point of our conversation, for the topic that we're talking about here, if you do live near a place like that, then you have to get to understand what exactly is it that they do specifically. What if something goes wrong there, specifically, what is my type of danger? Is it explosion? Is it gas? Is it spill? Is it that my water is going to be contaminated should they have a chemical leak? Am I going to be gas cloud? Am I going to have to avoid an explosion? And once you understand that, then you have to pay a little bit of attention to how do I know something's taken place? Because remember, the company's going to do everything it can to conceal what's going on up until the point where they're required by law to sound the alarm and alert the people. And if that does happen, you have to then have a plan in place, kind of like a fire evacuation. Am I going to stay put in my house and seal up my windows? Or am I going to try and get to somewhere that's considerably far away from where it is I live if I'm within that area, that could potentially be contaminated? To my mind, it should always be, you should try and get as far away from it as possible. But there's always the possibility that something just happens in the middle of the night and you don't even know about it. And in that case, would you know what to do? Do you know what the alarm sounds like? Because I only moved to this house a couple of years ago and I heard that alarm for the first time. I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't know what it was indicating, whether it was a test, whether it wasn't, what I was supposed to do. It was only when I started working in the area that I started learning, oh yeah, there's a whole procedure you're supposed to know. It's like, well, nobody told me. So I imagine there's a lot of people like that in this area who just don't even, they would hear that alarm and think, meh, they do it every Wednesday. Yeah, it's a Tuesday. I don't know why they're doing it, but who cares? You're on mute.
We had exactly the same with that chemical plant. So there was I think it was like a Friday at 3 p.m. It would always go off. And when that fire happened, I think it was like a Tuesday or something like that. And the alarms went off and nobody reacted at first. It took a long time before, it was a combination of all local radio stations telling you this, as well as a car driving around with a tannoy shouting stuff.
That's assuming anybody's listening to a radio anymore and they're not just like scrolling through their Facebook shorts and they won't see it.
I mean, it was probably a bit before doom scrolling. I'm talking it must have been, I said 10 years, but it must have been 20 years. It must have been close to 17, 20 years ago. I'll find out actually.
Yeah, but I mean, you've also got the added problem of, I mean, a lot of people might have this idea. Well, if I heard something going on in a big petrochemical plant, I would, jump online and I would see what was going on. I would react. But what happens if it happens at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you've got another 6 hours of sleep, and the gas cloud is slowly making its way towards you. So yeah, you have to have some sort of plan in place, I think, for if you live in a place where that's a genuine hazard, a genuine possibility, then you have to have a plan to immediately react, within minutes of what you're doing. Even if that's just sealing up your own bedroom and having your emergency radio in your bedroom, because that's where you're going to be at that moment in time. I've got to admit, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of preaching a little bit, and I only live a few miles away from a huge petrochemical plant, and I don't have a lot of these plans in place myself. One, because they're starting to decommission that plant, but two, because like a lot of other people, it's something at the back of my mind, even for somebody like me who thinks about this kind of stuff all of the time. It's worth looking into at least.
2010 is when it happened, November. Crews are still at the scene, so it was the Stiller factory was the one that went up in flames, but the chemical plant was next door to it. People living nearby were advised to stay indoors, which is very mild compared. They actually advised us to seal ourselves in, basically. The area around the factory was cordoned off by over fears of exploding aerosol cans. One fire fully extinguishes, blah blah blah. But yeah, that was the actual fire that caused it.
Yeah.
So 16 years ago, I was close.
I think for like a larger scale as well, a person has to consider just like how difficult it is to have any correct preparations in place. Like it's not even like when the things that we're speaking about as well, Alan, like the amounts of money that it would cost to have like the more long-term, large-scale like technology to provide that coverage for that would be ridiculously expensive. Like the costing that it would actually be, the investment that you'd need to put in is just something that obviously only maybe like 5% of the world has that amount of money, realistically. So the best thing obviously that a person can really do in terms of that is try to live in a place where you are more in a self-reliant kind of urban home, like a rural homestead really. And not everybody has that option either. Like that's also something that only a small fraction of the percentage of the population really has. So realistically, what you can do, if you are even getting like, warning signs of it as well, fortunately, they're closing down their plant by you, Alan, and that's obviously a really good thing. I'm glad that they're decommissioning that. And I think that that's obviously a really good thing. But other than that, the same thing applies always. Just get out of Dodge, try and, relocate as fast as you possibly can, and just leave the area as far away as you can, as fast as possible. When it does come to a lot of these, like specifically with local chemical spills. So a person just needs to be like smart about how they have their ear to the ground, listen to local radio stations quite frequently, because they'll also report on things like that pretty quickly as well. Communication is always going to be a very good, fail-safe when it comes to these type of things as well. And as people that are into preparedness in any way whatsoever, we should always be keeping our finger on the pulse. So yeah, it's just, the other alternative is too expensive, realistically, to have like a full proper bunker system. Like people don't actually understand like the cost investment in that. And like, it's just ridiculously expensive. So evade if you can, move out of Dodge, like just try and be as aware of your surroundings as much as you possibly can. And that would prevent against almost everything. The more you're aware of the more aware you are of your situations as well. Sorry, it's just been quite a bit of a week as well on my end. But yeah, it comes down to just being like very good at understanding what's happening and how things that could go wrong would really impact you.
Yeah, understanding the risk in your local area is definitely the key to what we're talking about there. I mean, I'm secretly sort of pleased, like you, Guardian, that petrochemical plant is being decommissioned to some extent, although they are talking about turning it into hydrogen storage facility, I believe. But it's obviously
even bigger kaboom.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, obviously,
if that happens, Alan, you don't have to worry about the alarms. It'll travel.
Yeah,
the explosion will travel quicker than the sound will to your ear.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I'm kind of happy that they're decommissioning that, but it's a major part of the economy here, and lots of people are employed in that plant, obviously. So it's not so great for them. But the other thing I would say as well, I mean, your economy, your own economic, or your own financial sort of standing is often why a lot of people live in these areas. So I live quite close to that refinery, but not so far away. I also live near a major landfill site, which also presents its own chemical hazards and groundwater gases and other things. And a lot of people would think, well, why would you move to an area that, what in one direction you've got a major landfill site, and in another area you've got a major refinery, and another area I've got a huge military shipbuilding thing going on. So I'm prime target number one where I live, because I can't afford to live anywhere else. That's the reason. The houses are cheap here for a reason, because of all those things. And because I work in this area, that's why I have to sort of live in this area. So I'm not going to say, well, yeah, it would be more ideal for me to live on an island in Scotland somewhere away from everything. Fantastic. If I win the lottery, I'll do that. But in the meantime, myself and many other hundreds of thousands of people kind of find ourselves having to live in these places just because that's the way it is. And so what we have to do is recognize the dangers where we are and adapt and prepare and improvise as much as possible to best protect ourselves against it, which is kind of what we all are. We're all sort of preppers and stuff here. So we're looking at the most immediate danger to us, and we focus our energy onto that. So I do have a vested interest in focusing my time and money into thinking about this topic more so than I do about earthquakes or tornadoes or floods, because none of those things are going to happen to me. Not likely anyway. Possible, but very unlikely. So I'm more interested in this subject than I am about tornadoes, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of recognizing that and adapting your lifestyle to suit that, I think.
No, you raise a good point. Just be aware and how to resolve scenarios that are immediate impact, that pose an immediate impact to yourself and the people around you that you care about. And that's obviously the same thing with everything. Then in that situation, you may not have the capability to live out there on that island specifically, out on your end, but you would be able to at least have some sort of a cash system out there and be able to escape to there if necessary. Obviously, there are situations where you won't have any warning at all. There's no early warning for certain scenarios that play out. You say that you've got, a shipbuilding facility that's close to you that could potentially be a target in the scale of a large scale, I don't want to WAR, but I think that for the most part, as soon as you start seeing things are getting quite hairy, and that there have been similar situations, because the only way, and I'll mention this, it's really important for us to focus in on this. If you want to prepare for the future, just take a look at the past, right? Those who prepare, completely understand that the best way to understand what could be ahead of you is it's those who forget the past are doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And basically, that is the best way that you can analyze your current scenario and realize that there are ways that you'd be able to get well out of danger for many of the situations. But I think that specifically the chemical spills that have occurred as well, that topic and being around that type of scenario, it's just absolutely horrible what's happened in the past. If you go down the rabbit hole specifically, and when I saw the stream was coming up, I did a brief amount of just search as well, and it's crazy what's happened worldwide, specifically more built up areas where a lot more people are living in denser areas as well, where it is much more severe because of the amount of loss of life through that. So yeah, just try to be as proactive as possible.
I think this is where the importance of a bug out plan comes into play. If you genuinely live in a high risk zone, I live in a place known as the nuclear triangle of targets, in Scotland, because there's major sites in a triangular sort of area. And guess what idiot lives in the middle of the triangle?
I vote you change your channel name. Sorry.
The nuclear triangle prepper.
The nuclear
you
triangle.
Ain't surviving shit.
But I mean, that said, the likelihood of mutually assured destruction, nuclear war, which is what that would be, if the Russians nuclear attack me and I die, I tell you what, that means Britain's under attack and they're going to be launching 300 nuclear weapons towards Russia. I guess what, all of us are going to be affected. I might just feel it quicker than you guys, But that said, if I lived in London or Washington or Manchester or somewhere like this, or those are extremely high risk places as well, because they're direct hits when it comes to nuclear attack. But see, just quickly as well, I'll just one thing, because we're focusing, I think, too much on the nuclear side of things and the petrochemical plant side of things. See, if you live next to a railway line, that's a major hazard for for chemical and toxic spills.
Yeah, just look at Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
Yep.
Look into the Pennsylvania story, and it's not the only one.
No, it's okay.
There's been a couple.
No, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
They bury the story because they don't want you to hear about it. They also don't want you to say anything about the property and the land nearby. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely worthless now for the next 500 years or more.
Exactly. It devastates entire communities, entire towns. So if you live next to a major railroad, I would put some sort of plan in place as well. Especially if it's carrying those kind of big tankers that you see, those big train tankers going by.
Yeah.
Put something in place. So if that overturns and bursts, what's your plan?
Yeah, I live in a town that has basically, the town is nicknamed the Hub, trucking and trains. And there's not as big as like what's in Harrisburg, PA, and some of the really massive ones that have like 80 sidings all parallel to each other. But we got like 15, and there's a lot of train traffic that goes through. Most of the time it's just containers in that, but I'm sure in those containers, or sometimes you get the tanker cars and you can't quite make out what that hazmat sign means with the number on it.
Yeah.
And there is that. And I think about that. I'm like, where am I going to go? Most of the time the wind is not blowing from there to here. From where I'm sitting, it's usually blowing the other way, like 90% of the time. So
this is why I always say to the hardcore bugging in no matter what people is always have a bug out plan, because all of these things you don't know what could affect you. Living near train lines, even it doesn't have to be a train line, it could be a main road and it could happen on there.
Yep.
So having a bug out plan always has to be put in place. And Alan's right about like living and working and stuff like that. I've moved to a more urban area than I started at, and to the point where I can't bug in unless everyone happens to already die some sort of viral thing. I have to get out of here. I'm not safe in this urban environment in any sort of collapse, any sort of situation. So my point is, no matter where you are, be adaptable, be ready to change. Yeah. A plan rarely survives first contact. All right. So just be ready to change.
We were talking, just earlier when we were talking about the Atlas shelters, they actually do a small shelter, a small concrete one that costs like $20,000.
That was it looks like a vacuum formed one, right?
Yeah. Basically it's like a root cellar that you bury in the ground.
That's a storm shelter for like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff. Get in there, you're good for a couple hours, get back out. The door has a hydraulic thing in case something lands on it, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's got like a couple of bunk beds and stuff in it. But I tell you what, I looked into that because of where I live. I genuinely considered, I've got a fairly decent sized garden. I thought I could get one of those in my garden. And I ran the numbers and I did the calculation, and I calculated that it's better for me to simply invest my money into bugging out from this area than trying to hunker into my garden in a bunker. Because I'm in such a high risk place that there's just no point in me being here. I need to get out as quickly as possible. And that's a better idea. So a lot of people would look at where I live and think, build yourself a bunker. No, don't build. That's the worst place you can be. You have to get away. Distance is your friend.
For that to be a viable option, one of those root cellar style bunkers wouldn't be a viable option anyway, because if that's what the situation you're talking about, then none of your preps above ground are going to survive. So you getting out of there, you'll probably have more stuff with you than you would hiding and then coming back up and seeing what's left. You know what I mean?
But the thing about that small bunker that I'm talking about, it has basically the Israeli filter system in it that would prevent radiation contamination, things like that. The idea being that you basically just you and your family go down there, if you have a small family, for just a few days, and then you survive the initial possibly the initial blast, and you can survive some fallout for a few days, and then you would move on. It's not designed to be something where you literally live out of it for a long period of time. And like I've said many times, and it's a bit of a running joke, but it's true. But I'm not a prepper, so I don't have stockpiles of food. I don't have stockpiles of stuff. All of my way of thinking is based on skills and moving away from somewhere. But one thing I do have, which makes me very high on the prepper side, is I have caches. I have buried caches, and I have them in strategic places away from where I live and away from where I think all of the things that are likely to happen could potentially happen. And I will live out of those for a period of time. That's a very preppery thing to do, but to my mind, it's just a very sensible thing to do. And it's a cheaper, easier way for me to invest my money and all the excess equipment I have by simply putting them in a barrel and hiding them in a hole somewhere. It didn't take me much effort to do that, really. But to me, I've saved a lot of money and a lot of false security if I was to invest all of that time and money into putting a root cellar in my garden.
See, I've always said if I had the money for a bunker, I'd buy a boat.
If I had the money for a proper bunker, I would just buy a better house and a place where I wasn't going to be nuked in 5 different directions.
So that is a good approach, right? But I do say that because we should be adaptable, as you guys were just mentioning as well, having the capacity to have your food on rotation as well, if you are financially capable of doing so, just at least a month's food at the bare minimum, if you can do that. So having like 1 month of food as well, or perhaps 2 months, however long you can possibly do that. But just for your bugging in case, because I absolutely agree with you, the more skills that you have, the less you need. And I really can't emphasize on that enough. If you start to understand like how many tools you can actually forego by just knowing and having the skill set to either use alternative tools as well, or to be able to create your own, it's an abundant amount of resource, just having the knowledge to do so. I'll always say that like actual skill sets in those times are better than preps, 100%. But I'll definitely say that because we're trying to be adaptable, as mentioned, it is very, very important to make sure that you at least have some sort of a moderate food rotation going. And as you're saying, I'm sure that you actually do that to a degree. Like compared to the average person, you probably are a prepper. Even if you say that you're not, you have like even the caching system is extremely like deep within the preparedness realm of thinking. It takes like a certain amount of like understanding of what could potentially happen for you to take the pragmatic approach like that and actually go through and like, implant like caches in various places that you would have access to. And not just that, but like working on those skills and having like a certain level of, if you think that fitness is like super big, bulky muscle, like, working on that type of build, that is surprisingly such a false narrative. And the most fittest people out there in the world, if you Google like super supreme, like world record holders, like go and look at their actual physiques. Like they're not these like super like buff, like ripped and jacked. I have much like super respect for people that are that, because you need various different types of people in an actual effective mag. In an effective group, you need your heavy hitters and you need your bigger guys. But realistically, when it comes to fitness and actual survival for an individual, like your fitness level is very important, but it also needs to go alongside with having like that willpower to endure for the long term. So you're absolutely right when it comes down to it. You see that? Like, that's a good thing. I have so much love for that man. Like you cannot even imagine like how much respect I have for like Schwarzenegger and like what he did to like within his career. And there's a lot more about having that bodybuild approach. You need those guys. So I'm just saying 100% like be adaptable and make sure that you're not just like that. But I'd call you a prepper, Alan, even if it's a running joke that you don't refer yourself as that way, but I'll definitely say that you are, bro, like much more than most people.
Everyone's a prepper. It's just what level you are. If you got plasters under the sink, you've not cut yourself, you're not bleeding. Why do you own plasters?
Yes,
Because
sir. Exactly. Well said. I love that.
You definitely, there's definitely an argument from a semantic point of view as to if there's a scale, if there's a spectrum of survivalist or prepper everybody at some level is on there. Everybody wants to survive, and everybody prepares a little bit. When you buy your shop and you don't buy just for that, that day, well, I do sometimes, but usually you're buying for a few days ahead of yourself at least. And I'm a prepper to the extent where maybe I do some things that are slightly more forward thinking than the other. I mean, look, I'm in a bedroom right now and I have a fire extinguisher right beside me, because there could be a fire, and I'm surrounded by preps and other things that I've gathered over the years.
You got a kayak right behind you. There could be a flood.
Yeah, exactly. But I think to me that's not prepping. To me, that's just being sensible. That's just looking around logically and saying, what do I need to look after myself? What do I need to make sure I'm not the victim of something because I'm relying on somebody else, whether that be the government or a family member or anything else? You have to be self-reliant. You have to have that mindset of self-reliance. And I think all preppers have a natural instinct for wanting to be genuinely self-reliant. They want to separate themselves away from the reliance on people telling them what to do. I don't want to be told by the government that there's a petrochemical spill going on at the petrol plant just up from me. I want to be aware of it faster and react to it based on the signs that I know something is going wrong, something is happening, and I have to take actions. And my actions have a plan. And my plan has been thought out because I've looked into it beforehand. Now, some people might think that's a little bit paranoid, but I would be thinking, wait a minute, you live a couple of miles away from a place that could literally explode or spill toxic fumes, and you've just never bothered to look into what you do should that happen. And by the way, it's happened 10 times in the past 20 years.
Alan, you need to let me get under your stairs and I can do this. Yeah, that's what you need.
I tell you what, if you looked under my stairs, you would be very disappointed. It's just full of kids' toys and shoes and jackets and an old tent.
I think regarding the whole paranoid thing, there's a lot of society that'll absolutely call people paranoid, even for just slightly being into preparedness as well. That's absolutely an often occurrence. But at the end of the day, as long as you are true 100%, when it comes to your honesty and level of integrity, it doesn't mean shit what other people say. I'm just so at the point, maybe it's my age as well, but I just can't keep caring as much when it comes to people worrying about, seeing preparedness as a stupid thing to do. Just a couple of years ago, we all know what we went through, and it's that's not even, that was even something that could have been so much more severe than what that was. And it's just being proactive. And I think that there is that kind of mindset where people that are into preparedness seem like the kooks in a way and a bit crazy. But I think that it was so much worse several decades ago compared to what it is now. I think people are catching up again and just also understanding and realizing that throughout history, people have had to prepare. And it's just seen more as a very regular thing to do it. Fortunately, there are a large amount of people that understand it, and those are the people that you need to be surrounding yourself with anyway and caring about their opinions. I don't have time for people that care about, no offense, you care about watching regular sports and that all weekend, and that's what they're into, the sports guys and whatever. It's fine if you like sports, no hatred or judgment at all. I'm just saying I knew it, Mark. Don't worry. I know. I just say there's nothing wrong.
The opium of the masses. The opium of the masses.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong at all. Even since the Colosseum days, right? It's human being nature.
Proof you can enjoy that and still be prepared as a mindset.
Yeah,
right?
It's trouble. It is tribalism, and it's inherent within us for us to want to be part of a team and for us to be into team sports. I'll quickly close on what I'm saying with this quickly. I didn't have a dad at all or any real father figure in my life. So because of that, I wasn't I'd see the other kids this is way off topic, but I'd see the other kids rock up with their dads at sporting events, and it just kind of makes you feel that it's not your place. That's why I went to extreme sports and outdoor adventuring and adventure motorcycling, mountain biking, those alternative sports, skateboarding, BMXing, all of that when I was younger, because I wasn't the guy that had the dad that was watching sports on the weekend that went and sat with him. And, a part of me wishes I was, but that's just not me.
I think that's the reason I got into it more, because I didn't have that with a father figure at all. And it pushed me to want to do that for my kids. So I think it kind of pushed me down that other route of I'm really passionate about football and I want to take my kids to it and I want to include them all the way up until they're adults because I didn't have that. I think so. It pushed me down that route with it.
That is so awesome that you use that as like a, as a driver to actually go into that more. And I don't know, maybe I was kicking the ball about a week and a half ago and I felt pretty good. I hadn't done it for a while. And like, it's just actually something that felt like, hey, this isn't as bad as I've been making it seem like, in my youth and stuff. So maybe I'll give it more of a shot, Mark. I'll give it another chance, maybe.
Do it.
the thing is,
does anyone of you remember the Bhopal accident?
The what
1984.
That's when I was born.
I believe Mark should remember it.
What was this?
Bhopal accident.
Where was that?
1984. No, India.
That was the year I graduated high school. Probably saw something on the news. Doesn't really ring a bell much. What happened? What was it?
A huge gas leak.
It was a pesticide plant.
Yeah.
Exposed highly toxic gas, methyl isocyanate, in which is considered the world's worst industrial disaster. Over 500,000 people in the vicinity were exposed to it.
Wow.
That's terrible.
Great.
I bet the houses were cheaper on there for a while.
Yeah, probably still are.
See, do you know what that reminds me of as well? Because we're talking a little bit about the different things, understanding where you live and the potential hazards. And to me, being aware of what the threats are is what a prepper is or a survival. It's just having a little bit of understanding about it. But sometimes they can come from weird left field places. And I don't know the name of it. I could Google it in a minute. But I remember hearing a story about a lake, like a huge lake somewhere, and the gases were released under this lake, and it caused a sort of a gas to go all over this small town, and it has a devastating and very dangerous effect. But it was well known that that lake had the potential to do that, and yet people still decided to live in that community anyway and didn't really prepare for it.
The Lake Neos disaster in 1986.
Yeah, how many people died in that? Does it say?
Hey, you got in Pennsylvania with the underground
killed
fires.
Between 1,700 and 1,800 people.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're moving to a place, then it makes sense to me anyway to have a look around and say, okay, I'm moving to this place. It's a new town. What are all the hazards? What are all the potential risks? Is it a flood zone? Is it an earthquake zone? Is it a lake that could potentially kill me? Or is it going to flood? Or what's going to happen?
I've said it all along. Like, all of this is bonuses, right? It's stuff. Prepping, to me, is a mentality, right? And every prepper stops becoming a prepper on the day something happens and you become a survivalist, right? Because it's no longer time to prepare, it's time to survive. Andy mentioned something similar on the fireside, saying as soon as it happens, that's it, you're no longer a prepper. So, and prepping for me is a mental exercise. It's planning, because Alan, you could have zero money and zero supplies, but you can sit there and think, this might happen. If it does, I will do this, this, and this. And if I need that, I'll get it from there. If I need that, I'll get it from there. You're now prepping. You're preparing for something that's not going to happen.
You've prepared for plan.
Yeah, stuff, tinned food, freeze-dried, radios, books, knives, everything else is just a way of making that survival option easier, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's true what you say when it comes to the money side of it. I mean, I'm not going to kid myself. If I won the lottery, I would look like the world's greatest prepper. I would live in a bunker. I would have all the mod cons, that kind of stuff. But I don't. I live in but like I say, I believe I live in a very high risk sort of nuclear zone. And so you would think I would be heavily prepared for that. But in reality, what I've got are some iodine tablets, a couple of books about how to prepare for something like that, and some advice if I get myself caught, and a bug out plan. to get the hell out of here. That's my plan. Get the hell out of here. Don't try and stay and tackle it. Don't try and see it through. Don't try and live off preps. Don't try and live off something, because that's a scenario where I'm just not going to survive. And the best thing for me to do, I would actually be better off 100 miles from my house, standing butt-ass naked in a woodland somewhere than living in this bedroom in a nuclear attack. I'd be far safer butt-ass naked in the woods somewhere.
I'm on the east coast of the States. I mean, all the prevailing winds generally blow my direction, so there's no place for me to go.
Yeah, but that's worst case scenario. But when it comes to something like a chemical spill at the plant that lives quite close to me, yeah, I have the same bug out plan, but that's the survivability of that is far higher. And the survivability of that is far higher if you have knowledge and just a few more preps. It could be something like what Mike's talking about, having pre-cut things to seal yourself into an area, having a wind-up radio literally in the room that you're likely to be staying, so you can get a bit of local information and find out what's actually going on. And maybe just having some good books, because you can't learn, you can't know everything. By the way, for the kind of stuff we're talking about, chemical spills, urban, and things and all that kind of stuff, I always recommend this book. It's not the one that you think it is. This is John Lofty Wiseman did another kind of book. He did the famous survival book, of course, but he also did this, which is an urban-based book. And it talks about everything, including chemical spills, natural disasters, nuclear attack, all that kind of stuff. You can still get this on Amazon and places.
So that book is for urban survival, basically.
It's all urban survival. It covers literally everything, including security, all that kind of stuff. There's no living in the wilderness type stuff in here. This is all urban. I highly recommend it. It's called the SES Personal Survival Handbook by John Lofty Wiseman, not to be confused with the SES Survival Handbook by John Lofty Wiseman, which is
I think that version is actually hard to find, Alan. It's quite hard to find.
It'll probably be another print. I've had this for many years.
I found this one. I'll put a link in there for people. It says SAS Urban Survival Handbook, but it is Lofty's.
That's the same one. It'll just be a reprint. It'll be a different
fire,
print.
dangerous dog, bomb, hijacking, tsunami, influenza. There you go.
Yeah. I recommend it because that books are knowledge, books are skills. I tell you what, listening to people like us on the internet is also helpful, but it's when you won't remember everything we say, and it might also be the case that some of the stuff we say isn't entirely accurate, whereas a proper expert, a proper professional who's took the time to put something on paper is more reliable. And that this isn't going to, doesn't matter what happens to the electricity, you're still going to have this physical item that you can take, put in a backpack, and use it as a point of reference. So I always recommend people get a hard copy of something like this, even if you think you know it all.
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. Literature is amazing because of that. Because irrespective of the grid being up and irrespective of us having power, like, it still remains.
I'm going to try and get a copy before next weekend, Alan, and get it signed like you did.
Yep. I've actually, it's like off topic, but I've actually got like 4 different John Lofty Wiseman books because I've met him before at the Bushcraft show and I wanted to get his signature and a photograph. So I had to buy the bloody book again, which cost like 50 quid just for him to sign, even though I've got 2 other copies of it, And
the Bushcraft show this year is even better because yours truly is speaking there. So there you go.
There you go. It's worth that £130.
You can come and get me to sign a book. I don't have one, but I'll just sign whatever book you want.
just sign Lofty's book, just put his name out,
Scribble out Mike. Good times. I'm going to try and get that beforehand because it'd be nice to if I can get a signed copy, that'd be a good prize to give to somebody.
He's always there, and he always signs. He always signs the books. And you can get a photograph as well. I've got one. They say never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes. But I had 10 minutes to speak to Lofty when I was at the Bushcraft show, and the guy is fucking amazing. Like, I'm so glad I met him. He's funny as hell.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him try and say subscribe to Mike.
Prepper for the Ages has a question. you're cozy in your safe area and you hear a knock at the door, what you do?
Investigate it, but don't answer it. Depends who it is.
It's probably another friggin' Amazon order that she's put in. This is a difficult one because we spoke about this on Firesides many times, right? In different scenarios.
We always talk about this, yeah.
It depends. It's all circumstantial. It's a difficult question to answer without everything else. If there's extreme fallout outside, just wait for the knocking to die down and then clear the bodies out 2 weeks later. But if it's just like civil unrest, if it's just a financial collapse, stuff like that, I would like have a look, check, scout it out, potentially answer it. I have to create a mag in a situation like that if I want to stay here. So a knock on the door is a potential ally. It's also a potential threat. It's just all about cautionary, right?
See, there is
situational awareness.
Go ahead.
No, go for it, bro. No problem.
I was just going to say, I mean, see this classic. What do you do if there's a knock at the door? And my story usually is if it's somebody I don't know, I just ignore it. If it's somebody I genuinely know, it's like a relative or a close friend, then why wouldn't you let that person? But there is another scenario which is kind of related to what we're talking about here. Let's say there's a huge explosion that goes off at the petrochemical plant, and there's a big yellow cloud coming towards you, and they've told you on the radio, stay indoors, lock the doors, there's no time to escape. There's a chlorine cloud coming your way, and people are running down the street, and and a few people are banging on people's doors because they know they're not going to be able to outrun it. Why not let them in? That's what I say. I would, in that case, yes, I would pack as many people as I could in my living room and close the door and just hope that we survive the chlorine cloud, because it's going to pass. We're not talking about the zombie apocalypse here. We're talking about something that's happening right now. It's an emergency. It's an SHTF situation, but it is going to pass. And so if you do have even the slightest chance of helping somebody else in that situation, why wouldn't you do that? And we've seen that in when planes crash, you hear stories about people taking in survivors or whatever, or when 9/11 happened and planes had to land all over the world, people were stranded. And so people took them into their houses and put them up for a few days and all that kind of stuff. There is something to be said about a little bit of survival or prepper altruism, because not everybody is in the know of these things, and it's not their fault. It's not because they're ignorant. It's not because they're deliberately ignoring it. Some people are, but a lot of people just don't know. They don't know what they don't know. That's the problem, because we have a terrible education system and we have governments that lie to us all the time. So they don't know there's a threat until there is a threat, So a little bit of altruism, I think, when it comes to maybe in that case, I would open the door.
You can't even blame people for having like their specific life that led them up to the point of not being preppers. Like, it's because of, I believe that a lot of people that are into preparedness in general have had certain things perhaps happen within their lives that have led them to the point that they have to be proactive to that degree. When it comes to your situation as well, Alan, when it's, in a short term, very short term to possibly midterm, SHTF type scenario, yeah, absolutely, you should be allowing people, in an emergency in. But what I will say as a caveat as well to that, so at the moment, what are you doing right now to engage within your community? Are you asking the neighbor for sugar and actually getting to know them and giving them back like twice what they gave you with maybe like a chocolate to say thank you? Because if you don't know your neighbors, it's actually not a bad way to really start to communicate with other people. I'm not saying be like, a pest to the people around you, but you can absolutely find ways to increase the community engagement that you've got in your local area. And if it did come down to the question that was posed as well from Prepper for the Ages, you're in your cozy safe area and you hear a knock on the door. If we're looking at more medium to long scale scenarios, you should be trying to do everything that you can to rebuild some sort of society around you. And I'm not saying that is taken upon any specific individual, but there should be a couple of people that have the mentality of trying to increase the size of community that you've got around you. Because those people, yes, it will be more cost effective to not have those people around you as well, or resource effective really. But realistically, like, why aren't you at the moment building further engagements? Even what we're doing over here, we're learning to increase our social skills because we're on a live stream and you can't, it's not a pre-recording. Like what we're saying right now is in real time. So you're learning to develop that social skill element as well. And when you engage with the people in your immediate surroundings, you're capable of formulating groups a lot faster that could definitely help you at the end of the day. And yes, there will be people that could pose problems. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are potentially malicious, but that's why you're building a strong community right now, because you know the people around you, at least for the most part, and you'll never truly know them. People can surprise you after 15 years of friendship. But what I'm saying is that your society and the community that you're building around you should absolutely be strong enough that if you do take people in, you have people watching at night. You have people like, adding to that level of security as well. I will be jumping in a moment as well, but I just want to say thanks for having me up on the panel. It's always good to engage with you guys. And I believe that community and knowledge, what we were speaking about earlier with Alan, building that knowledge set, building that skill set, making sure that you understand what you can eat around you in the local area, what you like, how to build the most fundamental things as well. Go watch Primitive Technology tomorrow or sometime during the week. Primitive Technology, that huge Australian channel where he speaks about essentially building everything up from all the way from the Stone Age to the Iron Age and seeing what you can do in terms of building your tools, rebuilding society if you needed to. But you cannot do anything without community. So learn to grow food and learn to grow and be more self-reliant so that if the SHTF long-term kind of came around, then you would be able to feed everybody as well. Like, you should be working on that now. That's all I'm saying. Have a lovely evening, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Cheers, Guardian. Always a pleasure.
I suppose as well, if you do come in contact with one of those particularly malicious people, like Guardian was saying, you're always going to get that one bad apple. But if you're in a group of people, of like-minded individuals, then it's far easier for you to be able to expel that person as a group than what it might be if it's just you versus them. Especially if you've got, a couple of bad people and you're just sitting there as a lone wolf, they're going to overpower you. Whereas if you're in a group of relatively like-minded people or friendly neighbors or a mag that you've put together, then there's strength in numbers as well as, literally physical strength in numbers and mental strength in numbers. So, like Guardian was saying, it is better to try and form alliances early on, whether that be with hearts and minds and getting to know your neighbors or starting to build like-minded communities, kind of like what we're doing. Although the difference we have is we're all over the world. This is the internet.
Yeah.
So we're never going to, doesn't matter what happens in the world, the chances of all of us being in a room together, well, me and Mike might be, but the rest of us, we're not likely to ever even meet each other in real life. But what we can do in the meantime is sort of share the skills, share the experience, share our thoughts, and learn. Every time I come on these things, I say this all the time, I genuinely learn something every single time. And something that I think I know, and then I hear maybe, Mark or Shadow say something like, actually, I was kind of wrong there. And it changes the way I think. It changes the wiring in my brain to the point that I believe it makes me a better survivalist.
And we just all talk from our individual experiences, which, my experience is different than everybody here. Although we've probably had similar experiences on stuff. And just like, Alan and Mike and Shadow, we've all had different experiences. But a lot of it correlates with each other. It's like, oh, yeah, never thought about that. Or, oh, that doesn't even apply to me here or there. But this is why Shadow does this. And we kind of just love hanging out with him. Thank you, Shadow.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mark.
I mean, there's also
these streams, Shadow. They always cost me money.
That's only when Bob's here. Bob costs you money.
The different lived experiences, even the different places that all of us lived, does have added value as well. I mean, and that might be the case for your neighbor. Your neighbor across the road might actually not be from that neighborhood. They might be from a completely other part of the world, and the experiences and knowledge they have could be a valuable thing to know and have in that particular time, and that's kind of why this conversation is interesting, because hearing somebody like Guardian, for example, who's in South Africa, which is a completely different hemisphere from where we are, he has different priorities, different thinking, different climate, different reality, different geopolitics. Everything for him is different. Yeah, there's a lot of shared things there, obviously, But to hear his perspective on something is incredibly valuable, I think, because it's possible, even though we've got guys from Sweden, England, the States, Scotland, we're in different parts of the world, but we're actually kind of similar, almost too similar in our weather or climate or politics, that kind of thing. So it is nice to be able to go a little bit out of bounds a little bit and hear what other people have got to say. And so the wider your network, the better, really.
It's good as well for thinking of preparing for things that you've never had to. So, like, for example, I'm looking at this Super El Nino and extreme weather stuff recently on my channel, and we've never overly had to prepare for extreme heat in the UK. We've had warm summers, we've had hot days, we've had a week of warm weather, stuff like that, but never to something that extreme. However, if I'm speaking to somebody on here, like if Dios is on from Texas, or we got Guardian on from South Africa and stuff like that, they will have things that they just do in their everyday life that would be great advice for us preparing for weather like that. And same for any other extreme weather. Somebody lives in Canada or in Alaska, and you could just talk to them. They won't think of it as prepping. It's everyday life, but you'll gain so much more knowledge because they've lived through it.
Well, I mean, like even somebody like CR who lives in a place that it could be minus 35 degrees Celsius, he just takes that for granted as if that's nothing. I mean, most people in the UK will never experience a temperature like that ever, not even close. The coldest it's ever been in the UK is minus 27, and that was on the a mountaintop somewhere.
This winter we had at lowest minus 34 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, so, I mean, and people don't understand how that kind of temperature feels. It's different. I've felt that temperature before because I've put myself in deliberately to places where it is that cold, but only for a small period of time, only for a few days. I've never had to live there. I've never had to see how certain materials, rubber, doesn't quite function the same way, how fuel can possibly freeze, how materials that I've got in my preps that I have simply wouldn't function in very cold temperatures or very hot temperatures.
That's why I've got so many kids. The rubber doesn't function in certain temperatures. Is that what you're telling me?
Is it that hot?
Well, didn't want to say anything, but
is the friction that bad?
I was just going to say it must be a friction issue there. Wore it out quick.
Like a jackhammer.
The thing as well, see, also kind of staying on topic, but related to what we're talking about. Different countries have got different safety procedures when it comes to what is and isn't permissible, let's say. If I lived, so like I say, I live quite close to a place that has lots of chemicals, and there's been multiple accidents there over the years. But if I lived in India and I lived next to an identical petrochemical plant, I tell you what, I would be a hell of a lot more concerned about things like ground contamination, water contamination, because I don't believe I might be, somebody from India might just say I'm being, judgmental here, but I would say that it's far more likely that companies in India are far more likely to do things like break the rules by polluting waterways or groundwater and covering it up than what they would if they were in Sweden or the UK or the US, although that does happen in other countries as well. But that's something I would take more into account when it comes to chemical contamination. And I would put in place some thinking as to, if that happens and I'm aware of it, how am I going to prep for that? How am I going to get fresh drinking water if I suddenly find my only source of water out the tap is contaminated by a local industrial site because they've contaminated the groundwater? Yeah. And like Mark says, even in a country like the United States, this happens on an industrial level in some places, and then companies go to extreme lengths to cover it up, and so does local government.
Yeah. Oh, stop. It's fine. It's fine. It's within our parameters of parts per million, billion, trillion. Yeah, we just changed the rules, so now you're fine.
And then 30 years from now, when everybody's dropping dead of some sort of carcinogenic cancer,
that's too late.
Yeah,
it's too late, and nobody can be held accountable, and that's what they're hoping for. So you have to be aware of that. You have to think like this, I believe. And this, to me, is what makes preppers or survivalists. Is we have, it's not a distrust of institutions per se. It's just a healthy skepticism of, wait a minute, I understand what I need to be able to healthily make my way through life. And there's lots of things that can interfere with that. And people have got alternatives and motives to do things to protect themselves. And by understanding that, you can prepare yourself a little bit better. And, you know, the closer you are to these industries, the more cautious you have to be and the more prepared you have to be for the possibility of indiscretions by these companies. That was a little bit of a tangent there, but I think I'm kind of making my point as much as I can without, you know, naming individual companies and things, you know.
Yeah, and the problem here where I live is we have the E4 going straight through the city. And there are a lot of trucks that transport corrosive,
toxic, explosive. You name the hazmat sign. You get it.
Inflammable and really toxic fluids, chemicals they transport through the city. So that's not fun to see those trucks transported through the city.
Yeah. And I mean, we're all aware of the chemicals and stuff that get put in our food. And a lot of these chemicals are, of course, manufactured in big plants and things like that. Recently, it's only came to my attention that, see the chemical that they use in waterproofed clothing, you know, the spray that they put on some clothing and outdoors things, that's banned in Europe now. It's not banned in the UK yet because we have different laws, but they've banned it. I'm sure
it'll be allowed in the United States forever because, you know,
possibly, but
we use everything.
They're now realizing that they've known for years that this stuff is so toxic, so bad for you, that you can actually take a blood test from somebody who spends a lot of time, you know, wearing that kind of clothing and detect the chemical in their blood. It's that potent, and it's there forever. You know, imagine working in a plant that manufactures this stuff. And it got me thinking, because for years I literally have bottles of the stuff that I spray on certain things. You know, so it's probably in my blood as well. And that's
not that silicone spray, is it?
It's a PU spray that you saw, a waterproofing spray. You can wash it into clothing and things like that as well. I don't want to say too much about it just now because I'm going to put a video together about it, but it's in the news at the moment because it's banned in Europe currently, but not in the UK. But I mean, that's a prime example of a way of us being slowly poisoned by the chemical industry to fulfill the needs of a particular type of industry, like the outdoor industry and things like that. And a lot of those chemicals, by the way, run off into our waterways, into our streams, and they never go away. They're forever chemicals. And it's in there, it's polluted. I mean, you'll get companies like Thames Water say that though they get fined all the time for pollution, they'll say, oh, no, there's no pollution going on here. Go and take a glass of water from the Thames and have a swig and see what happens to you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to come out of it particularly well. You know, poultry companies as well. We're talking about toxic fumes and the worst case scenarios. Poultry companies, see poultry farms, you know, chicken farms and things like that.
Yeah.
Massive polluters of the environment, and the amount of pollution that they put into the waterways is incredible. We have lots of problems with that in this part of the world because we have lots of chicken farms, and it always finds its way into the waterways, and they put lots of measures in place to prevent that from happening, but sometimes it just happens en masse and it kills all the fish and kills all the marine life. But that's water that's part of the water table that finds its way into your tap. You know, so if you live close to something like that, then you should be taking some measures to prepare yourself and prevent yourself from being exposed to those kind of chemicals as well, I think, or toxins.
Yeah. We had a truck that transported diesel fuel, and that went over, and it was a leak from that truck. And I heard that 1 liter of diesel would pollute the groundwater, a huge area of it. So only 1 liter would mess the groundwater and everything up for a very long time. So
Diesel's incredibly toxic. Actually, I mean, it does it absorbs into the skin and it causes a lot of harm. A lot of harm to your skin. I mean,
brake fluid absorbs faster. Brake fluid is vicious.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think those plastic gloves you get at the petrol station are so you don't have smelly hands. No, that's the petrol station putting their little tick box in place to say, well, we gave them everything they could to prevent themselves from getting cancer from their skin.
Yeah, we gave them everything we could afford.
We could do it. We did everything we did. We can't make them wear the rubber gloves, the plastic cheap gloves that fall apart when you put them on. But yeah, I didn't know that either. And I actually do this. It's a horrendous thing, but I actually knew an old mechanic years and years ago when I left school, and he used to wash his hands in diesel. He actually used to scrub his hands with he said it got the oil off, so he would pour diesel on his hands, and
just helps it absorb right in. Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, but now you're covered in diesel. And he's like, yeah, I'll wash that in warm water afterwards, but this is a good way. And now I think about that guy thinking, there's no way that he survived. You know what I mean? That diesel must have caused him horrendous damage. I don't know him.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
But, I'll never forget that. And he had horrible hands, like really rough, horrible mechanics type hands, washing
couldn't afford to wash them in diesel these days.
yeah,
right?
True.
Sugar water. Sugar soap.
Sugar water. Yeah. Cover it in sugar water, just lay on the ground, let the ants eat it.
Yeah.
that nasty orange stuff with the bits in it.
Yeah.
I've got some of that downstairs actually. It's good.
That was the best thing when we moved in here because of the nicotine, because the previous owner smoked 300 cigarettes a day and never opened a window.
Oh God.
That was the one thing that turned things white again, that sugar soap stuff.
That's true. I mean, see that message there. It's talking about the contamination. The thing is, you can be micro poisoned, a micro dose of poison, and you don't even know it's happening. I remember hearing a story about a woman who slowly killed her husband by drip feeding.
I want him on the podcast. Mac Bean, Scottish Fitness. Send me an email. I want you on the podcast. Sorry, carry on, Alan.
Yeah, I was just saying, I heard a story about somebody who killed her husband by putting antifreeze into his food every day, just a little bit, but the buildup of the toxin over time caused them to, eventually be poisoned. And that's kind of what he was talking about there, McBean, where he was saying he was slowly sort of poisoned almost. But that's a warning sign. If that's happening to you, you need to stop and think, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm being exposed to something here. What am I doing that's exposing myself, and what is this contaminant? And you have to try and be on top of that as well. Could be drinking water, could be something you eat, could be something in your household that's poisoning you.
At this point, everything will get you, because there's nothing you can do anywhere unless you live out in a vacuum of space somewhere that you're not going to be exposed to something, and it's just a sad reality.
Yeah. Well,
I've the human condition.
I've started to stop using household chemicals as much as possible. So, see, for years, we've been spraying our houses full of chemicals and things that smell nice because we believe that that's hygienic. And it's not. All we're actually doing is polluting our environment or microcosm, and we're killing ourselves. Do you know what I've stopped doing, actually? Do you know how you get scent boosters for sheets? Never use that stuff. Never use that stuff.
I'm sorry, Alan. I'm sorry. Till you've lived with a teenage boy.
I was a teenage boy.
No. Yeah, when you are the teenage boy, you're nose blind to it. When he lives with you, you will contaminate that air as much as possible to not smell that BO dirty bar steward. So I'll take the risk.
You take the risk, but I tell you what, see the exposure to all the aerosols and crap that we put into place and all those things that we think smell nice. We get fabric softener that smells like the outdoors. Why not just dry it in the outdoors? And also the outdoors doesn't smell like fabric softener. So I don't know.
Fabric softener, ironically, that and dryer sheets, aside from the odor and the chemicals, what do you think causes dryer vent fires? Because it's like a petroleum based type. It sticks to the pipes. The lint sticks to that. It closes your pipes up. And then you wonder why it takes 3 times to run the dryer to dry stuff. Your pipe is so clogged. And with especially a gas dryer, you stand a huge chance of just catching it on fire. And nobody talks about that. I warned my wife so many times, like, you got to stop throwing fabric softener sheets in there because that's why I have to clean the pipe all the time. I'm due again. No, I don't use them. I pulled out her laundry the other day. 4 dryer sheets fell out. I'm like, oh, come on. Oh, I just like the way it smells. I'm like, whatever. I can't talk to her about it, so I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to take a more natural approach to a lot of things that involve chemicals. And, you know, like I say, I'm going to do a video about the waterproofing thing because that was new to me. I didn't realize the hazards involved in that. And
the benefit of a dryer,
the old lint supply.
Is,
yeah, although I wouldn't, that stuff, most of that stuff is nylon and plastic. So,
it's only
I mean, yeah, it burns.
It's only to start the fire.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't have a dryer anymore, so that's out the window. That's the last of my lint.
What do you do? Just hang it up to dry?
Yeah, and radiators and clothes horses and everything else we can. We just haven't got the room for a dryer. It just wouldn't fit in anywhere.
You know, see, it's one of those things. I commented on somebody's Facebook post the other day, a survival Facebook post, where he had a container which you keep a Bic lighter in. You know, it's a waterproof container you put a lighter in. But instead of a lighter, he had a little bit of, like, you know, lint like that, and he had just the flint part of the lighter, and you use the spark to set the lint on fire. And I said on the comment, you know, if you just put a Bic lighter in there, it's more reliable and you'll get more fires, right? You know, I don't understand why you would replace.
Well, you know, there might have been a money. It's like my Bic lighter ran out. I don't want to throw it out. Well, I can use it to start a fire. That's fine. But if you have another Bic lighter, yeah, keep the other one for an emergency backup, maybe. But you might want to have some gas in that lighter. Yeah,
it seemed to me like you can take a very efficient thing and then fill the space with something less efficient that ultimately does the same thing. And I see it all the time with fire making kits, you know, not necessarily Mike's fire making kit, by the way. I'm just talking about this. It reminded me of that comment that I just posted earlier. But I do sometimes see people say, I've got my survival fire kit here, and they open their little tin and it's got like a AA battery and some wire wool in it and some matches. And I think, yeah, you can start a fire with wire wool and a AA battery, and you can use matches for sure. But why not just put 4 lighters in there?
Yep.
You know,
I used to have all my friends that smoked. All my friends that smoked, they would save me any kind of disposable lighter, because if you take it apart after it's empty, there's still like 3 centimeters of flint left in there. They put this massive piece of flint in there so it doesn't run out, and I would use it my Zippo because they fit right in, and I'd never had to buy flints for like very long time. But it's flint. It's a little tiny thing of flint, but sure, if you're desperate, you find a dead lighter, as long as you can make a spark. Yep. You can use it to make a fire.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to know that you can do something like that, and it's good to know how to do it and practice it. But don't replace a surefire thing for a less surefire thing because you think that doesn't make sense to me. That
I'm that good. I don't need to keep a lighter with fuel in it. I just have the flint and steel and some fuzz, and we're good.
I'll just set my fire with friction, 2 sticks, and I'll do fire from friction because I know how to do it. Yeah, it'll take you 3 bloody hours though, and you'll have to search for the materials to do that. Just take some lighters. Learn to do it though. Learn to do it, but don't make that your prep. We're off topic now.
Well, we always get on a sidetrack.
We made it about 2 hours, pretty much sticking on topic.
Yeah, that's probably the longest we're stuck on topic.
I was just going to say that's some sort of record, right? Quick, let's destroy it. What can we talk about now?
I made some notes for this podcast and I haven't actually read them yet, so I'll have a quick.
What about you have some kind of a toxic
you mentioned
cloud,
that,
whatever.
You had some notes.
What about some kind of a toxic cloud or something that's coming at you, and you have plants outside, your garden, your lettuce, all your vegetables? What are you going to do with them? If the soil's contaminated, look at that, the plants survived. Yeah, don't eat it.
Feed it to the neighbors.
Yeah. Hey, I got some fresh salad for you.
I suppose as well, it might be a good idea if you live in a place where there's been a toxic incident, let's say, it might be worth investing in some testing equipment so you can test the soil, you can test the water, And it might even be worth having that kind of stuff if you live in an area that you believe is high risk. Anyway, I used the example of if I lived near a chemical plant in India and I was concerned about where my water was coming from, I would probably consider buying a good filter, but I would also consider buying a good water test kit, so I could periodically just test my own water now and again.
Yeah, but test kits, and each test kit is different for what you're testing for. It's not like one just random test kit that tests for everything.
Yeah, so you would have to do your
mass That's called a mass spectrometer, and I don't think you want to keep one of those in your house.
Yeah, so you would have to do your homework. This is what I was saying about.
I can test it if it's in keto. I don't know if that counts. I've got some keto test strips.
I've got some of those. Yeah, I've got some of those. But you have to do some ground proof, and you have to do some homework about what the immediate risk of you is to you in that place. I mean, for example, if you live next to a place that has potential gases, then what kind of gas? Now, I lived next to a long time ago. I lived next to a big warehouse that had frozen food, and they had ammonia. So it was possible that there was an ammonia leak from there. Ammonia leaks are quite serious. They can cause respiratory burns and all that kind of stuff. But you have to be able to identify what ammonia is. Does it look like something? Does it smell like something? Does it taste like something? Ammonia has got a smell. Ammonia's got a sort of
pee.
Yeah. Smells like ammonia. Yeah.
Yeah, it smells like ammonia. I mean, most people kind of know what that sharp, cleanery type smell smells like. I mean, anybody who's done gardening, you can actually buy pure ammonia. And you put
anyone who's been in the men's room at the end of the night.
Yeah. But there's other things. I mean, if you lived next to a factory where the potential was, say, chlorine, would you know how to identify a chlorine leak? I mean, would you know what does that smell like or look like or whatever?
Smells like bleach. Yeah. Yeah, it would be bad if there was a chlorine plant right next to an ammonia plant and they both went up. That would be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, and chlorine gas does actually have a little bit of a look to it as well. It's got a kind of greeny yellow type look, I believe. Yep. I've never seen it,
I
think that's the
case. If your chlorine gets into acid, you have chlorine gas, basically.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, you've got to consider ones that you can't tell either. So carbon monoxide is odorless.
Yeah.
Radon, natural gases and some natural gases and stuff like that can be odorless.
Mm-hmm. That's why propane and natural gas in the States, they add a additive to it so you can smell it.
That's what they add to the gas that comes through our cookers and our heating systems here. There's an additive to it that makes that smell, that distinctive smell.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier as well, that not too far from me is a huge landfill, and when you drive past it, it's got like a rotten egg smell. That's that's the hydrogen sulfide or whatever that smell is. I mean, it's a horrible eggy type smell. But if I was to suddenly smell that coming through my tap, for example, then I would know there was a problem with the groundwater potentially, and I would stop. I'd like to think I would detect that and think, okay, I'll not do that.
That's a thing here in the States with a well. It's like, oh, my water smells like rotten eggs. Oh, we got a filter for that. Okay. Yeah. Why does it smell like that? It's your well. Obviously, whatever's getting down in there is giving off hydrogen sulfide. Yeah.
It's a normalcy bias as well, and I suppose as well. It's how many times have people have gone, oh, what's that smell? Oh, it must be the drains, and then just carry on about the day. They don't act on it. You know what I mean?
I mean, the annoying thing is, I mean, see that horrible rotten egg smell from the landfill. See, every now and again, I do smell that, like in my garden, because the wind has changed direction and a little bit of a waft of it has kind of came this way. So I'm smelling a toxic gas that's coming from a landfill every now and again. It doesn't happen often enough that I care too much about it, and I know what it is.
Again,
it's the normalcy bias of it.
World survivalist.
Far enough away.
World survivalist in the nuclear triangle, snorting toxic gas. Survival.
I live in a bloody hell. Just surviving. Just surviving is is just.
It's the fact you're still there.
It's just the fact I'm still here. Yeah. and people listening to me probably think I live out in some majestic mountains somewhere in a castle in the Scottish Highlands. No, I live in the nuclear triangle and I smell rotten eggs now and again.
Yeah, Yeah, Prepper for the Ages just said, yeah, and I know I'm well versed on what happened there. It wasn't my company, but I know the company that was responsible, and I know the restaurant it happened in. Yeah, somebody dumped something down the drain, and it didn't unclog the drain, so they dumped something else in there too. Everybody started coughing. The manager said, "Everybody get out." He went back inside to try to clean it so he wouldn't get in trouble. He died.
We used to use this Ajax powdered bleach stuff when I worked in a McDonald's restaurant when I was younger. The fumes off that were horrendous.
Oh, yeah. Just fumes of a chlorine gas or an ammonia by itself are horrendous. You start mixing things together, and you got a problem. And never mix two things together in your house because, oh, well, this might make it clean better. No, probably not.
I'm guilty of nearly gassing out an entire office. And I think it was it caustic soda? I think caustic drain cleaner, basically. Yeah. Dumping a load of that down. I blocked a toilet at work. Proud moment. But in an effort to get it unblocked, we were adding caustic soda. Then that wasn't doing anything after a while. Throwing a bit of bleach in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. We had to evacuate the office for about an hour because of the fumes. And the turd never shifted. We had to get a plumber. There we go.
Nice.
Fun. Just
you can
share that one.
you can have your own toxic, invisible air cloud in your personal environment. And I'm not talking a fart or body odor, but in your house, kids and stuff, they don't know. They might mix things together. And what do you do then? You evacuate, get them out of the house, and get medical attention if somebody's coughing real bad because they got too close to it.
Mm-hmm. There's also a thing about see things like some furniture, like sofas and things that you can get from China and things like that. They have a gassing off period.
Yeah.
So when you take them out of the plastic that they come in, you put it in your living room and you think, yeah, there's a new sofa. It's got that new sofa smell. That new sofa smell is gassing off the chemicals that they've used to manufacture that.
Same with that new car smell. And you can buy air fresheners that give off that new car smell.
Give off the
Really? Chemicals just in one of those little Christmas trees you hang from your mirror. Great. I got that new car smell again.
Smells like death.
It goes back to what I'm saying about the chemicals that are in your house, because there's not a lot of airflow in your house, really. A lot of people do kind of seal themselves in, especially in the wintertime. A house is a very, very air polluted place, especially if you're using chemicals like floor cleaners and stuff. They're horrendously harsh.
Inside air pollution is a huge thing for health issues.
Yeah. I mean, you'll know, chef. I mean, you're a chef. I mean, you must know the kind of the carcinogenic toxins that are being aerated in a kitchen. Without,
I've used my share of stuff to clean grills and that. It's like, oh yeah, let me hold my breath while I stick my head in this oven and spray this stuff in there, which is an oven cleaner. It's like, yeah, don't breathe.
Yeah. While it's still hot as well.
That's right. Yeah, it's just fuzzing off and boiling and bubbling, and you got clouds everywhere. As long as you got that overhead vent on, let the neighbors smell it. They don't care.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to go as natural as possible. That's my new thing at the moment, is to try and go all natural. Stay away from.
Here we go. Alan coming to the Scottish Pepper Meet as the hippie that no longer uses soap.
Yeah,
as just natural, guys. You can camp in that corner, Alan. Oh dear. Going all natural. Nah, like I say, teenagers in the house. I'll take the risk with Febreze. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too crazy about it. I'm not going to switch the mouthwash for salty water, which is what some people do. I know that's a thing, but
charcoal water, right? That's the one.
Yeah, you could brush your teeth with charcoal water as well, I suppose.
Yeah,
but, charcoal's got lots of, new radicals in it and stuff. Which is good.
Just don't use Kingsford charcoal. That's got its own chemicals. No, wait, use matchlight. There you go. Use the matchlight stuff that you don't need to put any liquid chemicals on to burn it. Just use that, grind it up, put it on your toothbrush. Yeah. Don't light a cigarette. Your mouth will catch on fire.
Well, people have been putting fluoride in their mouth for bloody decades now, thinking that's completely
there
normal,
is that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just microdose myself with fluoride twice a day, from my toothbrush and in some cases drinking water. We don't actually have fluorinated water in Scotland, but you know, I know lots of places do that.
They did around here, but supposedly they were supposed to stop. But I haven't heard anything more about it since he said I passed a law to stop fluoridation of your water because it's a neurotoxin. But does anybody listen?
Great teeth, ruined organs. Take your pick. Which one
it actually ruins your gums, but that's besides the point. I was like, oh, my gums always bleed when I brush my teeth. Gee, I wonder why.
Fluoride in the water had nothing to do with dental health.
No.
That's it was because it's a cheaper chemical to, process water with. I mean,
so you always ask your dentist, it's like, how does drinking fluoridated water help my teeth? Does it magically just stop and adhere to my teeth, or does it magically go into my bloodstream and just deposit on my teeth from the inside out? And they look at you like, what?
I do like how sometimes people will boast like, oh, Scottish water hasn't got chlorine in it, fluoride in it. It's
it does.
It has chlorine in it though, which isn't exactly the healthiest of chemicals.
Chlorine, chloramine, you name it. They got to do something to keep it from going stagnant in the pipe, so they add chemicals to it. And
there's a chemical in there. Yeah, it's got chlorine in it or something. It's not coming straight from the sky. That's for sure.
Although I don't know how much you want to trust that anymore either.
True. I mean, the rain, every droplet of rain is formed because water molecules form around a fragment of dust. And if that dust is something that's coming from a chimney, or flaring or something like that, then you're literally consuming, that chemical. We've got lots of flaring in that petrol plant that I'm talking about. That's a big thing here as well. Actually, they're so bright. If you've ever seen flares, flaring, for people who don't know, is they burn off excess gas. It's like a huge pipe, like a tall pipe. And rather than do something with the gas, they literally just set it on fire. And you've got these gigantic flames. Then they call it flaring. And they try and do it at certain periods of the year, where I live. But you can actually hear it. You can seriously see it.
Yeah, it sounds like a blowtorch. Yeah,
you can smell it sometimes. You can actually smell it. So you might be burning the gas off, but it's not, it doesn't magically disappear. All of the particles that are being burned off still exist. They're just being burned off and then they're falling as ash somewhere. And that's the kind of stuff that ends up in your garden, on your plants, and your groundwater, on your skin, breathed into your lungs, this kind of stuff. It's all around us. And you have to be aware of it.
Yeah, read the warning label on your toothpaste. Actually, read the directions. They show a picture in the ad of this giant, long string of toothpaste with the little curl on the end, and the kid smiling. Meanwhile, it says use a pea size on the directions, and it also says if ingested, contact poison control. Wait, what? Yeah. How many times did Mom tell me growing up, where we're camping or whatever? She's like, "Oh, just swallow it."
Yeah, and they actually tell you now not to give the children under a certain age. There's an age limit on toothpaste. I don't know what the age limit is. It's toddler age or something.
You got kids' toothpaste, like the different ingredients and stuff up to a certain age, sort of thing. So
just use baking soda and peroxide. It's like pure sugar anyway. So just use baking soda and peroxide in a bowl. It's like metal, but it's just peroxide.
Yeah. Do you know some people brush their teeth just with soap, actual normal soap? Apparently,
you can brush your teeth just with the brush. You don't need chemicals.
Yeah.
You're just cleaning the scuzz off your teeth. That's all.
If you're in the wilderness, you can use willow. Willow's a fantastic natural toothbrush. You get a little piece of a little willow branch, and you hold both ends in your hands and twist it round, and it will become stringy. And it's called a widdy, and you can use that to brush your teeth. There you go. Natural.
There you go. Excellent. Look forward to the demo.
Also has salicylic acid in it as well, which is a slight aspirin-y type taste. So it will cure your headache as well as brush your teeth.
There you go. I got a migraine. Go brush your teeth with willow. I feel better.
Natural charcoal is toothpaste.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. If I remember it correctly, it's antibacterial too.
I mean, I'll just use colloidal silver. You can use it for everything else, apparently. So
If you melt it down, you can use it to buy something.
Oh,
Tired, Mike?
oh, you won't believe, honestly. Stress and anxiety equals sleepless nights. So I'm up to about probably 8 hours sleep in the last 3 days total.
That's not much sleep.
No.
I've on my little list of things here, I've put together a practical sort of chemical incident kit, which some of you guys have already showed that you've got. I don't have one, so I'll put something together. But the list I've got here, I've put duct tape, plastic sheeting, gloves, the rubber type on the nitrate stuff, eye protection, some sealed water, some soap, spare clothes, a battery radio, and keep it either in the kit or in the room that you're in. A decent respirator and some spare filters or gas mask if you like, and then of course a headlight and a first aid kit's always useful, or something to decontaminate yourself with. I can't really think of anything else. I don't know if you guys can.
Make sure it's elbow deep gloves.
Elbow deep gloves.
They're not very touchscreen friendly though.
That's an interesting thing. Like if you were wearing all that palaver and you're like, I need to know what's going on, and you pull your phone out, and you're like, the gloves don't work with the phone.
Oh yeah, the phones.
But I can't take the gloves off. You're trying to do it with your nose or something.
Not with a gas mask on, You just it's just not an
like,
option.
Oh damn, I can't operate my phone. I've not.
No doom scrolling in the chemical apocalypse. I don't know if you added it on the list there, Alan, but I would consider having specific first aid in with that kind of kit that's designed for chemical burns and things like that.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, like I say, if you live next to a plant that manufactures, I don't know, battery acid, and you do a little bit of research to find out what are the possible hazards of living next to a plant that manufactures battery acid. Is it a toxic gas? Is it an explosion? If it's a toxic gas, what does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? And how does it react with nature? Does it sink? Is it heavier than air? Does it float? How long is it in the atmosphere for? Do just a little bit of basic research about the thing you live beside. Then you can prepare specifically for that. There's no point in preparing for chlorine gas if you don't live anywhere near something that can produce chlorine gas. Unless, of course, you live next to a railway line or something that you don't know what they're carrying. But, I think just be sensible about where you focus your energy into your preps, because you can end up being prepper overwhelmed. You've prepped for literally every chemical known to man for no reason whatsoever, because you're not likely to be exposed to those things.
I think I've got so much around here being so urban. In Manchester, there's so many different plants, chemical plants, breweries, factories, stuff like that. That would be a research paper in itself. I think the option would be just get out of Dodge if any of them go up.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything in the brewing process that could do anything like that, but I have the Heineken factory as a stone throw away from me.
Oh.
So there will be something probably.
Don't worry, it's at the top of my looting list.
So if there's a Heineken spill, you just go out with a big glass. That's what you do. You just
just 2 straws. Send me to the trying to sign language straws in these gloves looked a bit dodgy. So. I just want Heineken, guys. Oh, there's a GIF that I don't want to see. Right, so these are. I tell you one thing, with your NBC stuff and stuff like that, I was just doing a little test. Is the creases of my arms and my forearms are sweating already in these.
Yeah, it's basically
how long
just
you could have it
just
on
a vapor
for,
barrier. It's a
Yeah.
vapor barrier.
If you're thinking about like any sort of plan, like I'm going to go out and I've got to do this, think of how long that's going to take, because you could easily overheat in something like this. So.
Yeah, people are saying in the comments that there's CO2 in breweries, which is a hazard.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, straight CO2 is. Although they do inject it into greenhouses because plants use it to make oxygen and grow, but that's another rabbit hole story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will be great for they are my nappy changing gloves, evil girl. That's what I wear. I wear that and the full gas mask to change a nappy. That's not going to traumatize the children at all.
Nah.
Is the baby also in like an incubator where you put your hands through like it's in a bowl?
Yeah, with tools. It's a full procedure.
Like in that movie, Outbreak.
Yeah, that's it. Outbreak, that's the one.
Great movie.
Funnily enough, I was watching that yesterday.
Really?
Only to steal bits from it.
Wow.
For our video intro.
Yeah. That's the movie that starts off where they bomb a town, don't they? Outbreak, right at the very start. They're like in the Congo or something, and there's an outbreak of Ebola. And you see a plane flying over and they think it's going to drop help in a parachute, and it's actually like a nuclear bomb that just wipes out the town.
It's like napalm, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then a monkey gets on the airplane and lands in California. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcel from Friends killed them all.
Years since I've seen that movie. I'll watch it again.
Oh, it's back on YouTube for free again, with ads, because everything that's going on again. We got to watch Outbreak and be scared about everything that's coming again.
Yeah, cruise ships killing people.
Don't forget to buy your toilet paper. I know I said that a bunch the other night on one of your webcasts, Mike. I was like, I'm running out to get toilet paper now. I'm going to beat the rush.
Quick.
Oh, wait.
It's something. I'm going to do a whole video based on why you don't need toilet paper. That's going to be a fun video.
Yeah. All you need is a damp rag, that you can rewash, or a squirrel on a stick.
2 rags is ideal. 2 rags is ideal.
That's the old joke, the bear and a bear and a bunny taking a poop in the woods, and the bear looks at the bunny and says, "Do you have a problem with poop sticking to your fur?" And the bunny says, "No." So the bear picked up the bunny, wiped his butt with it.
Yeah,
nice. Nice. It's the what was the military, the one-piece military method. So you get 1 piece of toilet paper, fold it in half again.
Yeah, you rip the corner out, you stick your finger through it, and you use that to clean your nail off.
Yeah. Keep hold of that. Then you can wipe your ass like this and get everything out. Then close it around the finger and clean the finger.
And that little piece is to clean your nail.
It's to get it from under the nail. There you go. All the shit's gone, 1 piece of paper.
I saw some guy doing that on a video once. I'm like, now I'm realizing it's not a joke.
and then that same person's handing out the hot dog buns.
That's right.
Like, here you go.
That was the cook. That was the cook.
Nice.
Yeah, people mention that you need to wear wicking gloves underneath those rubber gloves as well to help with moisture prevention. That's what I was saying earlier about the NBC suits they used to give you in the military. You get these big these black rubber gloves, but underneath them you have these white cotton gloves.
Yeah,
that you wear underneath them, and that's for that purpose. But
I know how that is. I've worn the not latex, the nitrile gloves, and to do work and at work, and then I cut my hand. I get a little slice in it. It's like, okay, it'll bleed, whatever. I put a glove back on. Within a minute, my entire hand is covered in bloody sweat.
Yeah.
Like literally sweat with blood on. I pull the glove off and everybody's looking like, oh my God, what happened? I'm like, dude, it's literally like a tiny little pinprick. But the sweat just absorbed all the blood and moved it all over the inside of the glove. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You sweat.
Moisture management and vapor barrier type clothing is an entire subject in itself. It's a very interesting subject if you ever dig into that rabbit hole as well.
Oh, goody. It's about to start raining here in about 10 minutes. Awesome. That's great.
I'm just going to assume. I'm going to assume it is raining here. I haven't looked out the window for a while, but
I don't know. I'm watching a weather map, and I was like, "Oh, goody, another one of those long line storms cruising across the whole east side of the country." And
yep, it's peeing it down here.
You're in the UK. It's always wet there and raining. You get like what 2 days of sun a year, maybe.
Not with this Super El Nino. Oh yes, it's going to be a bronze god by October.
There you go. Brian will be happy. He can put all our solar panels outside and charge everything up.
I tan like a lobster, so I just turn red and then it all falls off and I'm white again. That's the two colors I have. The only place that tans is literally my forearm there.
You've got people like me and Shadow. We can't go out in the sun. You know, it's just crazy talk. You know, we would just die immediately if we go out in the hot sun.
Yeah. I prefer cooler temperatures.
Oh, love the cooler. It's like, what is it now? 85 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius right now on my deck.
40 Celsius, scorching.
Well, that's what the thermometer has. Oh wait, no, 30 Celsius. Sorry.
Even that's pretty hot as well. You know,
it's like 85. I'm looking at the needle. It has, because they gave me the conversion chart right on a thermometer now. I could just look at it and go, oh, look at that, it's 30 C. Okay,
this is the
give or take.
This is the warmest room in my house because I have so much equipment in here and it's so well insulated. It's 23.7 degrees Celsius. I've got no idea what that is in crazy number Fahrenheit.
That's like 70. That's like room temperature. It's like 72 degrees.
Yeah.
I have to keep looking at my thermometer to do that. So I'm not smart like CR. I don't know this stuff off the top of my head.
He just knows them all. Yeah.
He just rattles a number. He knows the formula in his head and just rattles it out to the decimal point.
Yeah, I mean it's 11 degrees outside, so. I don't have heatings on or anything. This time of year we can get away with not having the heatings on.
11's not too bad. It's like 50.
Yeah,
on my 50 Fahrenheit.
And I mean it's 20 to 10 at night here, so it's it's not daytime. So it's getting, the weather's getting nicer in the UK at the moment.
And how would, it's what CR just said, how would weather temperature affect the situation of a invisible cloud or whatever? I guess if it's hot out, it could be worse or better. It depends on if it rises or falls with temperature. If it's really cold out, you're going to be inside anyway. You may not even know it's coming, and it just might encapsulate your house. And there you go, you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, high and low pressure has an effect on air density, and you've got wind speeds and things being carried on the wind. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that affect chemicals. Also, see, a lot of when places have heavy flooding or heavy rains, often as a consequence of the flooding, drainage systems will become overwhelmed, and companies use that as free reign to purge their own systems.
Just dump it out there. It'll flood out to the ocean. Nobody will know.
Yeah, that's the water companies in the UK have been using that loophole for decades now, where they're actually legally allowed to dump their stuff into the waterways, the river systems, if it's like high water, like flooding or rain or stuff like that. But they do it so frequently and so often.
Good to see you.
So it would be if you live in an area that's prone to flooding, but you also happen to live in an area that has, say, a chicken farm or a chemical plant or something like that, then you have to be aware of the fact that there'll be long-lasting residue, because all that water is going to be contaminated, and then once it goes back down into the rivers or sinks down into the ground, the chemical hasn't left; it's still there. And so, that's something to be aware of, and probably takes us back to the reason for why you should maybe have test kits.
Yeah, that's what happened in Pennsylvania. All that toxic stuff from the train that burned. Mm-hmm. It got into the local streams and it settled to the bottom, and it got stuck in the sediment. You could walk by. People were showing videos of walking by and just, taking a stick and just swirling up the gravel or whatever underneath the edge of the surface, and you could see rainbows appear in the water because the stuff would swirl around, and it was bad stuff. It's still there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of places, even in the UK, that I'm aware of, that have had mining take place at some point, and that's permanently contaminated the groundwater in that area.
Yeah.
Permanently, it will never ever recover. Not in the lifetime of many people from now. Probably like 1,000 years or something. It'll be contaminated. So I mean that's a possibility as well.
So you're gonna get out, find a new place to go that hopefully didn't get contaminated, so you get some water.
I mean, at some point, bugging out just becomes a case of relocation. The thing about bugging out is usually a temporary thing. It's bug out of your home to go to a safer place, and then come back. But sometimes you just need to relocate, or if you've got the money to. If I win the lottery, like I say, even though I don't play it, somebody gives me the lottery for some reason, I'll bug out. I'll relocate myself to, well, I say a Scottish island with a big bunker and preps and all that kind of stuff, but in reality, I'll probably just live in, the Bahamas on a boat with a 20-year-old. You know what I mean? But hey,
now with that kind of money, you could live with anybody you wanted to.
I'll leave you guys to prep and prepare for the world ending. I'll live it out in Tahiti.
Yeah, with no email address, no cell phone that anybody knows the number to. Leave me alone.
I'd tell you my plan, but then the missus might find out and follow me. So.
I don't know what that says. I'm assuming it's something positive about me.
Oh, he says where I live in Sweden. Actually, I live in north of the Sweden. 550 kilometers north of Stockholm.
Absolutely hammering it down all of a sudden.
What is? Rain?
Yeah.
Rain?
Gone from a slight drizzle to... Hey, Mike, I'm going to fill up all your water butts for you. Thanks.
Sweet. You got your rain barrel system out there yet?
I have, yes. I've got 2 of 3. One's still to be deployed, but
so I have a 6-barrel system I had set up like 7 years ago. It worked great for 2 years. I just took it down. I designed it poorly for weight. And so I took it apart, and it's just all the barrels are still sitting there. I got all the plumbing parts and that. I just haven't put it back up yet. And it's coming here probably in a few weeks. I'm going to be like, nope, I need it. So with the droughts and stuff coming, so I can water my garden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think I've got the 3rd water butt set up, but I think I'm going to get a couple of storage only ones. So it doesn't need to have the tap in or anything like that, but I can filter from the butts into that and then refill the butts, so
good news for me is where my barrels are. The bottom barrel in my stack behind my shed is about a meter higher than the top of my toilet tank on the first floor. So nice. I could literally run a hose down to the house, fill up the toilet tank with gravity and flush the toilet, because I live on the side of a hill. All crap flows downhill. So I don't have to worry about my pipes backing up. It's the bottom of the hill that's going to have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. I'll just
already thought about actually doing it anyway, because the price of water, they charge us for the water in, and they charge you the same for the sewer going out for the water bill. And the one toilet downstairs here is the one that gets used the most. And I calculated, 1.1 gallons per flush and how many flushes a day, week, month, year, and how many gallons that was. And I was like, damn, I could knock my bill back by a couple $100 easily if I don't use city water to flush my toilet. Just can't get caught doing it.
It's one of the most underprepared things, people's water systems.
Yeah.
Especially in this country. It's like, I've got I've got a 6-pack of water from Lidl, so I don't need to prep any more water, but I've got 90 days worth of food. It is one of the most overlooked things.
700 days worth of freeze-dried food. Yeah, I need water for most of it.
Yeah, that's it. Apart from the freeze-dried water.
Really thirsty.
How you talk about the water bill there, Mark? Is that just does that come off annually, or do you have some?
No, it's quarterly. Every 3 months we get a water. They have a water meter on the house. So say I use 100 gallons. I'm just going to pick easy numbers at 1 pound per gallon of water. But they charge me for 200 gallons. The second 100 gallons is at 50 pence or whatever per gallon, and that's the sewer going out because I have city sewer. So they charge you both ways. They charge you for coming in, and they charge you again for it leaving because now we have to treat it.
Do they meter the sewers?
No, they meter the water coming. That's what I said. They meter the water coming in, but they just double it, so to speak. Because you use this much water, it had to go out. So if you're washing your car all the time, you're paying for sewer, and your water's going into the garden.
Some places in England have water meters, don't they?
Yes, I've got water meter.
You got a water meter? I know some people they still use them in Ireland as well. We don't have water meters in Scotland, but
they don't have. You don't have a water bill, right?
No, we do. It's just included in the council tax.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I mean. You don't have a separate water.
No, there's no
separate.
There's no separate water bill. I think last time I looked at my annual council tax bill, I think the water bill is £500
for the year.
For the year, yeah, and you can use as much water as you like. They don't monitor that in any way. I mean, it's the one thing we have plenty of here, so they'll find it hard to put a water meter on.
If they could meter the amount of oxygen you breathe and tax that,
they would do that too.
Yeah. That said, I mean,
if there's a toxic cloud, they'll start taxing you on the oxygen.
Definitely.
Yeah, just reading some of the comments there as well. It's why the fracking. A lot of people are against fracking because of the the ground contamination. I remember hearing the defense of because fracking's not something that really takes place much in the UK, but there's a lot of potential for fracking in the UK, which would obviously boost the economy. So some people are very for it. And I remember listening to a guy on the radio talk about, fracking's harmless. It doesn't cause tremors, and all you're doing is pumping water into the ground to release gas.
Dude, it's not just water.
It's not water.
It's not water. It's sewage water.
Yeah,
they're pumping in crap, literally slurry into the ground to make it steam or whatever to loosen the hard oils in the ground to come up, or they use it for steam generation.
Yeah,
they do that a lot in the Midwest here. You can see them from satellite on Google Earth.
Yeah, I don't think it's even just pure water they would use anyway. I think they add something.
No, it's not. It's literally sewage. It's all municipal waste they can get nearby. They just pipe it up to them, filter it out a little bit so it's not chunky, and then pump it in the ground. Hey, look at that. We got rid of it for you.
Yeah. Pump sewage into the ground to release gas for us to burn. What can go wrong?
Yeah.
Tax you for the privilege.
And they charged me for the water coming in and the water going out, and now they're charging me tax on the fuel I got to burn, which you got because I took a crap and took a leak and flushed the toilet. Thanks. You're welcome.
It's got very quiet.
Yeah, I'm sitting on my deck right now on the floor, cleaning out one of my mini fridges that we don't use anymore. Still works. I just don't need it, so I'm not going to leave it plugged in. And it has dog hair and stuff in there, years of whatever spilled in there that never got cleaned out. And so I'm just sitting out here using my toxic chemical cleaner outside, well ventilated area. That's it.
Nice.
Sure. The natural habitat around you will appreciate that.
I might have to change the dog's water bowl. It's sitting right here. Probably got a couple spray shots in it. That's not fair.
I'm just I'm reading over my fragmented notes because I didn't really refer to them much at all in this discussion, but a lot of what I've written down we talked about anyway, so I'm just trying to see if there's anything I've missed. I think I've got here best option is to move upwind if possible. But I think we talked about that. Avoid valleys and tunnels and basements and stuff. I think I mentioned that actually.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaylin says I have disposable booties to put on over my shoes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, though, you just have to be mindful of where you're then walking with those. You know, if you put disposable booties on over your shoes because you're in a contaminated area, make sure you're then not taking that contaminant into the living space that you're in. So you have to have a mechanism for being able to, one, put them on and also take them off. You know,
you need to have a special container to put them in.
Yeah, it could even be
one.
It could even be something as simple as, let's say, for example, there's been a chemical spill in your town, which has caused, a cloud, which is now settled, and there's a fine dust or something all over the place. It could be something as simple as, okay, you put on these booties, clean ones, at your doorstep. You go outside and you walk to wherever it is you're getting your provisions, and then you walk back, and then you have a mechanism in place for like maybe a clean bucket where you take off one booty and then step into the clean bucket and take the contaminated booty thing and put that into another bucket, and then you do that, and you so it's not.
It just sounds weird with booties. I'm putting my booties on my feeties.
Yeah. I'm imagining, are they talking about those ones painter and decorators have, those blue things that slip on over your feet, because they're not that effective, to be honest. But I mean, the ones, the rubber ones that we were talking, the rubber ones that we were talking about earlier, those are the most effective.
Yeah,
but
they make them. Realtors have them. Some people don't want people coming in their house with shoes on. Some people don't want to take their shoes off. So right inside the door, they have this interest. And my mother-in-law, we had one at her house because her house is pristine. And you literally stick your foot in there and push forward, and it would snap a little rubber band around your ankle area. So when you're walking on the carpets, you're not tracking in whatever you walked in outside into the house onto the carpets.
Yeah.
So, same thing that they do is them in food processing plants and all that. They have blue ones, white ones, whatever.
You can actually set up, like we were talking about, like mud rooms and decontamination rooms earlier, but you can actually set up rudimentary ones outdoors as well. I remember when foot and mouth was a hazard that was taking place in the UK years and years ago. I was involved in that a little bit, and we had like areas going into farms and things like that. They would lay carpet down on the ground, actual carpet in the outdoors, and then they would cover the carpet in like disinfectant, and they would have a bucket, like a tray that had disinfected water in it, and how like a garden spray, one of those pump action things, had disinfectant in that as well. And when a car would drive up to the the point of entry or exit of the farm, they would have to drive over the carpet. It would get sprayed with the the spray, and then brushed down, and then they would spray it again, and then the car would move on. But also people, when they were walking,
hey Ryan,
they would have to wear these wellies, and they would step into the bucket, and then it would get sprayed and decontaminated, and then they would move into the next area, which was another cleaning zone where they would clean it down with cleaner water, and then you would step out of them and get into clean ones, and then you could move on, and that was a way of trying to prevent foot and mouth. You could do the same thing with a chemical spill of any description, depending on what kind of chemical spill it is. But cross-contamination is always a major hazard after the event, I find, because if you live in a place that's had a toxic spill, the emergency, the disaster part of it is generally over within hours or days. It doesn't really go on longer than that. But then you have the contamination, which is the problem.
Yeah, and that's what everybody tracks into their house and in your car, and especially your car. You sit down with crap on your feet, and you turn a blower on to warm your feet up, and you're just aerating that stuff. And now you're breathing it.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, a lot of people, when they first get into wild camping, this is related, trust me. A lot of people, when they first get into wild camping and they go into the woods for a couple of days and they set up their hammock in the camp and they're near the campfire and all that kind of stuff, they always say, yeah, I did that, but my body's not used to it because I got ill. You know, I came back with a cold, or I came back feeling a little bit unwell. I had an upset stomach. I had sickness or whatever. And they think it's the outdoors environment that's done that to them, and it's not. It's they've contaminated themselves because their hygiene standards have slipped so badly, and also because if you were like handling dirty water or something like that, you can't just filter the water and then drink the water straight away and think, yeah, that's okay. If you've used the same container to collect the water in the first place, the container is now contaminated. So it doesn't matter if you put filtered water into your contaminated container, because it's still contaminated. But also people just tend to be very lax when it comes to their own personal hygiene. So they'll have like a camp knife and they'll chop up their vegetables with it, but then they'll open their steak with it. And then they'll cook it in the pan and they'll use it like a spatula. And then they'll take that and they'll cut their bread open with it. And you would never do that in your kitchen. So why would you do it in the woods?
Just wipe it on your pants. It's clean.
Yeah. It's like people do that. People they're sitting there, they're dicing their chicken in the woods, and they're like, yeah, there we go. And then they'll just crack open it because they kind of think being in the woods, they're insulated from that kind of stuff, and then they're just ill. And you're like, well, yeah, you've just, if you did that in your kitchen in the house, you would be ill as well. You just have to think more about contamination. I don't think
I think I think I wrap things up soon.
Yeah, we're kind of running out of
yeah, exactly.
Running out of anecdotes.
Yeah.
I'm just in awe of how many books John Wiseman's actually wrote beyond the SAS Survival Guide. I didn't realize how much stuff he's done.
Yeah, he's quite prolific.
There's a driver's manual. That could be interesting.
For driving a what? A car or like a deuce and a half?
I assume a car, but like of evasive driving techniques.
Hey, Ace. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, like tactical driving, staff car driving type stuff, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've never read that one. I've just got
the cheapest I can find. The one you've got there, Alan, is £31.79 used.
I tell you what, on the back of this book, it's got the price, and it says $12.99 UK, $24 or $28.50 Canadian. So that's how long I've had this book. The inflation of this book, the inflation of this book has skyrocketed.
That's pre-owned. I think it's just because it's a rare book, as it were. So.
Yeah. I say, I've got about 6 of John Lofty's books, but I've actually only got 2 different kinds.
Nice. I'm gonna pick up the SAS Personal Trainer book.
See that? You're buying stuff again, Mike. That's what happens. And Bob's not even here.
And I'm not buying it. I'm putting it in the basket so I can sit there thinking about like why I can't afford it and then delete it later. So that's
or just say
that's the process.
I'll figure out how to pay for it later. I just want it.
I put it on the wish list and then look at all my fans.
I'm gonna need it.
You're looking up books. See these military issue survival these NBC books. Are they for sale on Amazon? They probably are. I would recommend, if they are for sale and people could get them cheap, then get one of these as well. It is for the military, but it teaches you how to decontaminate yourself and how to prevent dragging contaminants into your household, which is everything we're talking about just now. And there's lots of practical steps in there you could decipher. It's not the kind of thing you read cover to cover, but it's a manual. It even has hygiene things in there. It tells you how to shave properly and wash yourself in a contaminated environment. How to identify whether you've been chemically exposed to various things and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you can get one of these kind of military manuals, it doesn't really matter which country it's from. I'd imagine all the NATO countries are have a similar version of this. It's worth having, I would say.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm sorry. I am absolutely frightened right now. I just spun this little refrigerator around to wipe the back down the dust. There's a sticker on it. It says R600A as opposed to R134, R210. Danger, risk of fire explosion. This thing is do not puncture refrigerant. Apparently, this refrigerant R600A is highly explosive. What the hell?
Nice.
Oh my God, flammable refrigerant used. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I know they used to use propane for a refrigerant and it worked great, but that's when garages blew up.
Yeah.
So they stopped. But wow, okay, I'm using an explosive refrigerant. I can't tell my wife that.
Don't
She'll
fridges.
she'll
whenever
get rid of
you
her
upgrade,
refrigerator in the house.
whenever you upgrade that fridge, that old one needs to go into as far away in the garden as you can, and then take pot shots at
Garden.
it.
I'll take this out to the cabin and shoot it. See what happens.
Yeah.
That's probably one of those. Didn't
video.
fridges back in the day have some sort of gas in it that was like literally causing the hole in the
Propane.
ozone layer?
Propane. They literally used propane was originally a refrigerant in refrigerators. That's why people that would take their old fridge way back in the 60s and 70s, they put the old fridge out in the garage and it would burn. The garage would catch on fire because the refrigerant would leak. It's propane or it would blow up. So they stopped doing that. Now we got all the different ones that, you can't release it in the atmosphere. You're going to kill the ozone, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. But this one's got some kind of explosive one. So that's cool. This fridge is only, I think it's 12 or 13 years old. That's cool. That's I have to look that one up here in a little bit when we're done.
Yeah. It's good to know that you're sitting beside a bomb, you know.
Yeah, apparently, and I'm looking at it's like that little black compressor and it has a little sticker on with the little yellow triangle with a fireball in it. I'm like, okay.
I like how they put it in the place where you won't. It takes you 13 years to even see that.
Yeah, the back of the fridge. Yeah, on the back where it's going to be against the wall. Yeah, and meanwhile, this thing went back and forth to college 7 times. My one daughter had it for 3 years, and then one of the other daughters had it for like 2 or 3 years, and then I've had it in my living room here, whatever, for kitchen for probably the last 10 years. Still works, and nobody ever saw the sticker. Alrighty, let me just coil the cable back up here, and I'll just put it out in my garage for storage.
Just pretend that never happened.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't see nothing.
Well, guys, I think we'll wrap things up now.
All right.
Okie dokie.
Thank you, Shadow.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it as always.
Thank you for stopping by and popping up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been good. This was quite an interesting topic as well. It was definitely for the first couple of hours we had lots to say about it. I think that's the longest we've stayed on topic as well. But thanks for having me on, and good speaking to all you guys again.
Yeah, I'll give you an update on my exploding refrigerator next week.
Yeah,
or not,
or not.
You've prodded at it for the first time in 13 years.
We haven't seen Shep in like 4 weeks. Is he okay? Bob will get back to you. It's like you didn't hear that rumbling over in Pennsylvania? Yeah, that was Mark's refrigerator blowing up in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having a stream that gives me an excuse to get my cow inseminating gloves out. Yeah.
Take care, guys. Stay safe. And remember, be part of the solution and not the problem. And we are out, I hope.